Good morning. Welcome to the No Way Jose podcast. This is the morning dump. It's August 11th, Tuesday. I'm your host, Jose Galison, and this is the kitty of the day. Little lady Katniss, little Miss Katniss here. She is the newest queen of the cattery. Not quite as sweet as her mama yet, but we'll get her there. I just woke her up. I think she's like, leave me the fuck alone. Now, if you like seeing my hot takes Monday through Friday, typically around 11 a.m. Eastern, or if you just like seeing the kitty of the day, and yeah, we don't always make it on time, then be sure to hit that subscribe button and hit that bell for notifications. That way I can tell you when we're going live, when we're dropping new videos, like I alluded to. I'm not always the most dependable on when we go, but we shoot for Monday through Friday around 11 a.m., a little bit late today. I kind of left you alone for about a week, but hey, this kind of circulates around my life. You're always welcome to donate to make it more likely for me to be here. All sorts of different ways to do that we'll talk about in the show, but for on a minimum, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell. That way you can see when we're dropping new videos. And with that, we'll see you in the show.
Beautiful thing right now.
Rise and shine, it's a beautiful day. I'm alright.
About a third of the building has been blown away.
This is the bridge to the white lights.
Our very freedom came under attack in a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist acts.
And at that point, we were taken for another round of questioning, this time related to our allegedly being members of Mossad.
It's crazy evil.
Good morning, everyone. I am back. Sorry, I abandoned you all. We'll go into that more probably in the chat portion of the show. We'll go ahead and get the ball rolling, but a quick little reminder for those, you never know if you're new or if you've only been here a few times, just a quick casual little reminder, a little housekeeping what this show is. I call this an info dump format sort of show, thus the morning dump. Kind of throwing a bunch of stuff at the wall, a lot of stuff that we've bookmarked, a lot of stuff that we're kind of going through together in real time, whether it be articles, clips, X posts, etc., etc. And if you, as always, I do like to remind you guys that I do try to accommodate people who aren't here for the live experience. The show is intended to be a live show, but most people do not show up to it live, which is perfectly understandable. But to accommodate the experience for a non-live viewer or listener, I leave video in the video/podcast description. We put timestamps there. That way you can jump around from topic to topic. And you can avoid the chat banter that I keep toward the end of each segment. And for those here for the live experience as it's meant to be enjoyed, I do like to remind you guys that you get at least one. I try to give you at least one good morning. After that, you got to catch my interest or catch my wallet. Luckily for you guys, I have the attention span of a chipmunk at times, so I'm pretty easy to catch my interest. But you can always leave a little super chat there. Or you can look in the top left-hand corner. There's a QR code for the Patreon, patreon.com/NoWayJose2020. Over there, you get a whole host of perks, and I am a little bit biased, and it is a pretty good, tight-knit little community there. So I'm pretty good about noticing what's one of you guys in the chat. So also a little reminder there, you can also get a whole other host of perks there, and kind of get a little bit to the front line, a little bit of bias in the chat. But with that, let's go ahead and jump right into the show. Although here's a casual reminder what we have today. As always, we start the show off with some icebreaker content, the fun, the funny, the gen pop slop, stuff along those lines, kind of easing into the coverage of whatever we have for the day. Today is no exception. We'll have a little bit of fun there, and then we'll get into the foreign policy of the show, which might be a little bit on the beefier side since we've been gone for a week, but I mean, with this weekish that I sort of took off from the dump, And at the same time, there's also kind of not been a ton of foreign policy stuff, so that's actually a good thing. So maybe not too dense. And then we will get into the Miller Madness, this Max Miller story I've been kind of watching develop for a while. I'm ready to dump it all on you guys. And then, assuming we have time, I'm not going to lie to you, between these two next segments, one of them may end up being on the axe. Just, I don't know, we'll see. We may have to cut one of them for time, but we'll see how judicious I am in my timekeeping today. Make sure I don't go off on too many weird little rabbit holes. But other erratic elects, there's some other good stuff to dig into. Not just Max Miller, that's just the juiciest one. But other electoral goofiness to dig into. And then hopefully, we'll see, maybe we'll get into finally finishing off our Polymarket coverage, our read of Whitney Webb's first piece into the dig, The Secret History of Polymarket. Will be kind of bringing it all together, the final segment of her first part today. But with that, let's go ahead and get into some icebreaker content, fun, the goofy, that sort of stuff. And then we will hang out with you guys in the chat here in a little bit. But I do want to let you guys know, kind of pop in on the Tower Gang homies every now and then. I like to let you guys know what's going on with them when they do something significant. Here's Toad. He ratioed Dan Crenshaw recently, which this was on the 5th. So last week, Toad ratioed Dan Crenshaw. Absolutely impressive. This came from the current, essentially, affordability discourse that's been going on recently online. That's was kind of a big thing. It's been going on for months. It's kind of been the big thing the left has hung their hat on, and kind of rightfully so, considering how bad the right hasn't, fumbled the ball essentially. So they're getting, what they deserve, getting shit on. And these are the same people that, during Biden's administration were saying the same exact thing the lefties are saying right now. So they kind of don't have much leg to stand on here. And Dan's only got one eye, too. Here's Dan Crenshaw jumping in on this. He's saying, just hearing about this dumb $20 burrito debate. For those who aren't aware, this kind of centered around this like $20 burrito thing. I think this started around Shapiro or somebody, and they were using the example of I forget how it even started, but essentially this became someone who's like, Gen Z has to get $20 burritos for lunch now, or something like that. And then, this became this pull yourself up by the bootstraps. Why aren't you just eating ramen? And why are you eating burritos? And yada, yada. So it became this thing. Also, why the fuck are you having a $20 burrito? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how much a Chipotle burrito is right now. $20, I guess, is probably when you're putting all the fucking works on it. But even still, it's still, food is expensive. But Crenshaw says, this $20 burrito debate. So just thought I'd make the losers on social media angry before going to bed. Said, stop whining, get a job, eat ramen like the rest of us did in college on a budget with 4 roommates. The market doesn't care what you think something should cost. Only communists care. So this is the new line they've been going with lately. They've kind of thrown up their hair and their arms and gone, well, if you want affordability, you must be a communist, which to their benefit, they have a bit of a point, because the people calling for it are literally generally kind of calling for some form of communism. So they've got a little bit of a point, but it's also it's their own fault. And are they really that upset about people interfering with the market? It's what the right does, but just kind of like a diet version of it. It says, are you communist? Are you American adult male capable of handling his own shit? So apparently you're not an American adult male capable of handling your own shit. If you're picking up on that the market is absolutely butt fucking everybody. But thankfully we got Toad to the rescue to absolutely ratio the fuck out of Dan Crenshaw here with an, unlike you, inflation is actually relevant and has 2 eyes. Which, I gotta be real, I actually was kind of surprised to see it blow up this hard. It's kind of, maybe I've gone too used, especially hanging out with you and Toad and Tower Gang days. It's just kind of get used to more vicious humor. This is kind of weak, it's kind of low hanging fruit. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just because I've been hanging out in the dark. Normal people, they see this oh my god. To me, I was I didn't see it that bad. But yeah, obviously a casual little eye joke in there, a little bit of wordplay with inflation having 2 eyes and being relevant. I don't know. I guess I got catty vibes from it because it's kind of bitch, you ain't relevant and you don't have 2 eyes. But whatever, people liked it. I'm glad to see Toad crushing. Good for him. 34,000. And I'm not trying to shit on Toad either. I have a feeling, too, if I talked to him, he'd probably be yeah, I did not expect it to take off like that either. A little bit of a throwaway. I think Toad probably just autistically noticed inflation had two eyes. And then he kind of formed a little bit of wordplay there. So good for you, Toad. But it's always great seeing Dan Crenshaw getting teabagged. Moving on, here is Trump being an absolute fucking... Here's one of the things where I will give him some ups for. A lot of people have given him a lot of shit about this. I can totally sympathize with this thing right here. The falling asleep in official settings. I think this is actually super duper Chad energy. I love this. And you guys know I think this guy's a pedophile. But I will give him... Everyone's trying to make this whole, like, oh, he's always sleeping, which I guess there is a hypocrisy point to be made when it comes to Trump. He is the whole Sleepy Joe. And, like, dude, you're sleeping in fucking everything. I mean, like, yeah, I do think I vaguely recall Joe had, like, a track record of falling asleep in things. But, I don't know, just casually looking in, it looks like Trump's giving him a run for his money, if not flat out beating him at this point with all the deluge of videos we get of him falling asleep in official things. But here's another such example of a little bit of fun. I think it's awesome. I think it's great. I sympathize with this. I recognize myself in this. As I've told you guys many times, over like a decade, active duty military. It's just like, this is just every gay little fucking meeting that should have been an email. Every gay little fucking dog and pony show you're at. Every gay little person that you have to pretend to give a shit about what they have to say because of some bureaucratic mumbo jumbo. Just, I love this. This is great. I want more of this. This is what I want. Just flagrant disregard from the office, from everybody involved. Like, that is, but I am an anarchist. I'm not someone here, hoping the best for the establishment. I don't want the establishment to succeed. I want it to become a mockery. But either way, I think it's great. Here's Trump essentially doing what I would like and making the empire look like an absolute joke, kind of exposing it for the bureaucratic, uselessness that it is. But here you go. Because we all know it doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter if Trump is asleep or awake during any of these meetings that he has. These are all just pomp and circumstance. That's all they are. Dog and pony shows, every single one. Makes no fucking difference whether he's asleep or awake. I'm sure he probably gets briefings from people or probably gets fact sheets, and that's probably stuff that matters. And I don't even mean that, like I said, in a demeaning way. Even from a perspective of actually trying to get legit information, I bet you most of these are structured in such a way that they are not useful for getting information. Most of these gay little meetings, they're just for the press. They're just to make a show. Now, I don't know who this Durka guy is next to him. By the way, let's watch this one. Here is him just being absolutely asleep as fuck, and I love it.
Take this extremely seriously, as we have been for the last year and a half. And more of the presidency. At the NIH, what we've done is we have established the Autism Data Science Initiative, which started.
Oh, that's the NIH guy. That's what the fuck is his name? I know he was really popular. I think he was one of the guys who was pretty good at COVID, right? Or am I just being racist and blurring him with every other Indian? I want to say it's like Sanjay Gupta, but I'm pretty sure that's not the correct guy I'm thinking of, and that's just some other generic Indian name, thus revealing my racism. But whatever, chime on in the chat. I'm sure one of you guys might know who I'm thinking of. Is it Hari Krishna? Is it Mahatma Gandhi? I'm not quite sure. Let's keep watching.
Almost a year more than a year ago, where we funded a dozen and more major research teams to answer the question of what is the cause of autism. It's a complicated biological phenomenon. It's not going to be a simple answer. It will have, as the Secretary said, potentially genetic predisposition, but that cannot possibly explain why we've seen such a large rise in autism. There must be some other environment.
It's great. So they're talking about autism and vaccines. I mean, that's not what matters. Just the reaction to Trump here is what's absolutely amazing. We could watch this on mute. We just keep this on mute in the background the entire time. Just absolutely amazing. I love it. I mean, this is me anytime I put on any movie whatsoever on the couch. Wife's like, let's watch this movie. Let's watch this show. This is me 5 minutes later. Can totally empathize with this. So no hate coming from me on this side of things. Although I do think it's funny. Apparently a conspiracy has formed out of this. Here is, there's claims, apparently this broad right here, if you look closely here, apparently the theory going here is they've tried to essentially find a workaround for Trump sleeping, because it's gotten quite ridiculous. I've played already in the show, I think, a couple times of sleeping. There was one, I think Marco Rubio was like directly next to him. I think he even tried to like sort of face him to kind of do like eye contact, try to give himself some more like inflate his importance as he's talking, trying to, body language it up, and Trump just completely dead there. And then he has to do this like kind of pretend that he wasn't going to look that way and looks another way. But anyways, so I don't know if they just gotten tired of getting embarrassed by this, but whether this is true or not, we have this conspiracy. This broad right here, watch her hand. She has her hand on her stomach here, and apparently she pats it. And it's at the very moments when he happens to wake up. So there's theories that this is to wake him up as if he's like some little kid that pisses the bed, which, by the way, that's a thing. I do want to say that's an embarrassing thing, but I know I was one of those people, a late bedwetter. My parents got me this evil fucking machine that literally attached little clips to your underwear, and then as soon as it felt moisture of any sort, it zapped you. And so I think they may have retrofitted one of these for Trump. Maybe he's pissing his pants too. I wouldn't be surprised. He hasn't reached that age. But I think it may be activated by the tummy touch here. So let's watch for the tummy touch, watch for the wake up. Let's see. Do they correspond well? Let's see.
Actually, more than a year ago, where we funded a dozen and more major research teams to answer the question of what is the cause of autism. It's a complicated biological phenomenon. It's not going to be a simple answer. It will have.
Let's watch that again.
A year ago, where we funded a.
I actually think they might be onto something. I mean, this feels like we're like Charlie crooking it up and we're watching all the different people in the crowd, but it's one person. And I will say, look at the position. It's like elevated right now, whereas she brings it back down after the touch. So it's almost as if she's like kind of watching, like, oh, he's fading. All right, get in position, finger on trigger, and then just kind of casually just wait. It's right after she glances over too. She glanced over too. I mean, like, she was pretty good with her eyes though at staying straight. I think she was doing periphery. She was trying not to show, but she did shift her body. She did, and it kind of awkwardness of trying not to move her eye, I think, revealed herself a little bit there. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'll be schizophrenic here, but I think they might. Oh, and then right touch the tummy, gets up. Although, watch his reaction. Do we get like a jilted? Is it electricity? What is this?
The cause of autism.
Let's watch the tap.
It's a complicated.
No. Let's go back. We gotta go back further. Let's watch the tap.
Answer
Tap.
the question of what
Oh,
is the
dude, it's like right then he wakes up. I don't know. Maybe it's a very light zap because it's not like he's jolted awake.
cause of autism.
Maybe it's like a vibration type thing. Maybe you know how like anybody's got those. Anybody ever seen the jolters you get for dogs or whatever? They usually have a vibrate setting for those who want to be a little bit more ethical. Maybe we're being having ethical treatment of Trump here and using the vibrate setting.
Complicated biological
But yeah, and she shifted her hand too, right when she did it. So she tapped the tummy, shifted her hand. That's when he woke up. So keep an eye out for this broad. Let's see. I think they may be onto something, which I don't know. It doesn't really matter. I just think it's great that this is the sort of things they're doing behind the scenes. Moving on, though, we're to believe this same guy is his exact same guy essentially getting a 70 in golf, which I'll be honest, I have no idea how significant that is. Someone tell me in the chat, is that significant? A 70 in golf. What is the perfect score in golf? Isn't it I know in bowling, it's like 300? Like, I'm going to Google it real quick. What is a perfect golf score? Let's say you get a hole-in-one every time. Perfect golf score. What is that? That is... It's an 18. It's technically an 18. Okay. So 70 professional golfers typically consider good scores between 69 and 70. Okay, so we have claims of Trump supposedly hitting a 70. So that's what we're doing now. Here's Gunther Eagleman going 80 years old. Trump just won the Bedminster Club Championship, which I don't know how significant that is. Any golf heads chime in. Definitely feel free to fill in context. That's what the show is all about. Score of 70 while running the free world. While dealing with missiles, negotiations, in a country that never sleeps, he barely gets time to practice and still beats the field. His words, it's called talent, and I have it, and they don't. The man just can't stop winning, which, I don't know. I mean, there's obviously I think this is a lie. I think. I mean, once again, I don't have a strong grip on what's impressive in golf, but that sounds like bullshit to me. But at the same time, even if he was like a professional... I guess it's hard to gauge, but I feel like something like golf. I was never a big golfer. It seems like something that if you were to be professional level, you would probably really need to keep your skills up to snuff, regularly be going. And so if you are, on that level, I would think you are probably putting a ridiculous amount of time in at the range. Like, I don't know. You're letting it to. I would think at that point it'd be an indication it's overshadowing your other stuff. But I guess, as I said earlier, who fucking cares? It doesn't really matter. The presidency doesn't really matter at all. That's kind of the whole point. Like, let's be real. It doesn't fucking matter. Who's there makes very little difference. Everyone likes to pretend it does make a difference. I don't necessarily think so. But either way, he supposedly got a 70. Let's watch this video. I don't know if this has mattered, but this is from the tweet. It's just, I guess, maybe just a picture of the... Okay, nobody's saying anything in it, but this is from the tweet that he posted. Oh, I guess we can see Trump take a shot here. A little chip. Whoop. Okay, well, it wasn't even like they showed it like go in, which I don't know. I guess that would be a hard shot there, but I don't know. If you're trying to sell it to me that he's like on professional level, I mean, I don't know. You should have showed it where it went in. I mean, like I said, I don't know shit about golf, so who knows? Maybe that is impressive. But here's what he said. He says, the winning shot in the Bedminster Club Championship. Thank you very much to all of those who participated. I won with a score of 70, and I'm so honored in that. Unlike the rest of the field, I'm given very little time to practice because I'm focused on many other things. It's called talent, and I have it, and they don't. President Donald J. Trump. Here's our boy Clint. I guess if we're going to check it on Tower Gang Hope, he says, we're really doing the Kim Jong-un shit with Trump now. If anyone honestly believes Trump shot a 70, you should be barred from voting. Here's my theory. Okay, I remember one time when I was big into nerd shit, I went a rabbit hole about Batman, and there's like theories with Batman. Like, 'cause he's like this billionaire. He's up late at night fighting crime. It's like, how would you do that? You got these meetings. You gotta. In some degree, you could make the parallel between president here. Like, they have all these events. They show face. It doesn't really matter, probably, generally, if they're there or not. But they gotta show face. But either way, that's gonna take a lot of energy out of you. Now, there's theories with Batman that's like to be able to be at his peak and to essentially maximize the time he has for training and learning things or all the crime fighting. He would have to find a way to maximize his sleep. And he would probably need to, one thing they theorize is like micro sleeps. Like, essentially, instead of sleeping for an 8-hour stretch, as is recommended, he would do, 8 or do like 4 2.5-hour stretches or something. I don't know. The math probably doesn't jive there. But either way, you get the idea of smaller increments. Maybe that's what Trump is doing. Maybe Trump is just getting these power sleeps in, and so he's just maximizes sleep. This is why we get these 3 in the morning truth stuff that people are always talking about. Oh, he's up so late. Well, he's basically Batman. He's just gotten to the point to where like he's able to maximize all of his stats, keep them, at all times. There's no decreasing of stats with age because he's just perfectly figured out the whole sleep thing. So everyone's shitting on him about the whole like, oh, he's, oh no, he's sleeping when Durka Muhammad Jihad is talking. You're like, who fucking cares? You know what, though? He shot a 70. So we're going to keep him on his grind. Obviously, it's working good for him. It's keeping him sharp. So yeah, keep up the naps, old Donnie. You won't hear any... The kid fucking I have issues with, but the naps, you won't hear a peep out of me for that. But with that, let's roll the chat. Let's say some more let's say some good mornings. And then we'll get into some foreign policy, see what's going on there. See what you guys got to think. Gotta say, I don't think. Good morning, John Black. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, retardo. Good morning, user Chadhead saying dump time. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Will. Says good morning, retards of the highest order. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Martin Mac. Good morning, John Black. Again, squeezing it. I told you I'm biased. This guy gives me money. Says, Jose, you handsome sumbitch. Dump all over everyone. Good morning, Fire Pixie over at Rumble. And here's Fire Pixie over at YouTube. Doubling up. She knows what's up. Good morning, OG Matzo Balls. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Bug Fights. Good morning, Derek Porter. Says, I believe it was a Matt Walsh segment. I believe you're referring to the old affordability burrito. You are correct. And I think Walsh was actually pretty good on this one, surprisingly. He was, I guess, on our side, if you want to call it that. Not on the Shapiro. Now, Shapiro took the whole, like, you need to crack down and you should ask for some money from your parents. And I don't know, maybe if you could get everyone of a similar identity to you and you guys could create, I don't know, maybe outposts in different countries. And from there you build up and you create in-group sentiment. And from there, next thing you know, you're taking over the country. Like, oh, wait, we're talking about burritos? Like, yeah, he obviously took the other side of that I think they should be $30, something like that, I believe. But yeah, I believe you're right. I believe it was Matt Walsh, something along those lines. Ryan McLeod says, is this live or pre-recorded? There you go. There's your answer. It's live. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Tom33. Good morning, Texasaurus Nevsky. I like the name change. Jay Bhattacharya. There you go. See, I was just racist. I couldn't think of his name. Pretty sure Sanjay Goopy is a total. Isn't Sanjay Gupta the one that was in the? Actually, I think. No, what? I'm actually also being racist. I was about to say Sanjay Gupta is the one in the Epstein files. No, that's Deepak Chopra. That's who's in the. I think I might be once again racist here. I think I'm coming around too. I'm pretty sure Sanjay Gupta is. He was on some big network, I think, and he was like kind of their medical guy, I think, and he. I mean, he wasn't like hard in the paint COVID, but he was definitely, one of their people. I remember he was the guy they brought on Rogan because, like I said, he wasn't hard in the paint. He was kind of tepid. I think that was the idea of like, oh, we'll bring him on Rogan and like maybe kind of nudge. And it actually went the other way on him and kind of made Gupta look really bad. I might be wrong on that once again. Someone let me know in the chat. Good morning, Riser. Good morning. Is this Vishnu Ramalama Ding Dong Stein? Yeah. What else we got? Good morning, Sean Newman, saying glad you're back. Thank you. I'm glad I'm back. I just had a lot of like before school stuff and just this and that. So it just is what it is. Kind of took a back seat. Plus, like I also said, surprisingly kind of a weird dead period of news. I don't know. Maybe it's everyone else's. Although I think the school times start back up differently everywhere. So maybe that's not. It just feels like we're in a weird slope portion right now. So it kind of worked out. Gave me a few minutes to myself, so it worked out. I guess in that regard too, I guess a little bit of a wording for any of the deadheads here, the already deadheads. There's a semi-decent chance we might not be doing Already Dead tonight, so just a little casual warning. We'll see. Austin, I guess, isn't feeling so good after coming back. He did gay stuff with Top and Raven over here in Florida. Over at Bro Grove, so they're all, he's got the ick now. So I don't know, well, hopefully he's feeling better. Maybe we'll do it tonight. We're supposed to maybe do me and him do like an occult film analysis episode behind the paywall tomorrow. So hopefully he feels better because I definitely have a little bias there for when he's my boy. I want him to feel better. Also, bitch, we're trying to make content, get better. What else we got? Good morning, Gotis. Good morning. Good morning, Nemo Liberty. Good morning, Hard Ara. Good morning, Shannon Jones. Good morning, Sirhan Solo. One of my favorite words or usernames there. Good morning, K Sharp from East Tennessee. Hell yeah. Beautiful over there in East Tennessee. Miss it. Good morning. User says, did you catch that Donut Factory and AMTV praising Palantir, calling Peter a master, a mentor, fed slop? I feel like I don't know if it's you or maybe somebody else has popped up in the chat occasionally. I feel like you've been saying that for like weeks now. I haven't seen that. I don't know if you're on Twitter or if you're on any. That's probably the one I'm the easiest to get a hold of on. But like I feel like I don't know what you're talking about particularly. If you want to tag me in something, I'd be happy to bring it up sometime. I guess maybe if I feel like it's meaningful. I don't know. I've never really followed a ton of donuts content, so I don't know. I don't really have strong opinions or thoughts or really know much about it at all. What else you got? K Sharp says I think it was a poo from Simpsons with the Epstein files. Here we go. Tom33 said, old Goopty was a big help in getting medical weed established before he fell into the COVID shit. That was sad to see. Yeah. All right. With that, let's go ahead and get into some foreign policy. Let's jump in. As you guys are hopping in here, hit that like button, help a brother out. Like I said, I've been out for like a week, so we're doing a little bit of catch up on the foreign policy side of things, but fortunately, and I guess unfortunately too, depending on how you look at it, not a lot has happened. So when I say unfortunately, I mean, not a lot's happened. We kind of still the same stalemate position. Doesn't seem like things have necessarily improved, particularly in the whole Iran situation. But I don't think they've necessarily gotten worse either. So I guess that's, we'll take what we can get here. But the Iran deal says, deal with Oman close, but doesn't mean a Strait of Hormuz will open to all traffic. So this is from about a week ago. You may have heard some overtures from Trump here and there about like, oh, we're going to have a deal, or we got a deal going, or we're in talks, this, that. Well, you always got to like, there's always this game of like, well, what do they really mean? What are they? There's like the Malice quote where he's like, the Michael Malice quote is like the factual, not truthful, or whatever the fuck the the saying is. It's that right there. Like they're honest to like the letter of the word is what they mean. But like the sentiment, the spirit may not always be the case. So you've heard probably lots of talks about like, oh, they want to talk with us. We're going to open the strait. We're going to do this. We're going to that. There was never really any talks. This was talks between Oman and Iran, which are countries that both, kind of have territorial, legitimate claims to the Strait of Hormuz, since it's like closest to them. So it makes the most sense in that regard. So they're discussing what they're going to do with this. So that's where we find ourselves. The Iranian Foreign Ministry said on Wednesday of last week that Iran and Oman were close to reaching an agreement on a new shipping corridor through the Strait of Hormuz, but that it wouldn't guarantee that the waterway would be open to all traffic. If certain third parties do not obstruct the process, the two countries are also in the final stage of reviewing and drafting a joint statement covering the main points of agreement, said Esmail Baghei, the foreign ministry spokesman of Iran. Baghei added the agreement cannot in itself be interpreted as meaning the strait has become safe for passing vessels, since the restrictions on the waterway have been imposed due to U.S. military aggression and the U.S. blockade of Iranian ports remains in effect. According to media reports, a potential agreement would involve inbound ships traveling through the strait on the Iranian side, while outbound ships leaving the Persian Gulf would stay close to Oman. Unnamed Iranian officials told the New York Times the agreement would involve service fees for the environmental impact of shipping, cargo ship, and tanker security and staffing, and the revenue would be divided between Iran and Oman. U.S. officials speaking to the outlet denied that there would be any kind of toll. Which, let's be real, we all know it's going to end up with a toll. In recent days, Trump administration officials have spoken positively about the prospect of a deal over the Strait of Hormuz, though Trump has continued to threaten Iran with destruction if an agreement isn't reached soon. Over the weekend, Trump said the previous weekend, not this weekend, Trump said he decided to hold off on launching an attack that would have inflicted military terror on Iran at levels not seen since World War II. And I think there's a good reason why that may not have ended up happening, although you never know to what degree this is just bluster or bullshit. But there are all these reports about munitions shortage, and seems that may have had a strong part in why we aren't currently in some sort of aggravated hostilities with Iran. Although there obviously are hostilities, but it's like kind of this low-level kind of stalemate area. Like we still have the blockade up in that region. Not we, I need to drop that habit, but the United States military still has a blockade in the Strait of Hormuz, blockading the Iranian blockade. So they still are acts of war occurring, just not as hostile as they could be or have been. But Trump on Thursday threatened leakers with jail time over reports about dwindling U.S. military stockpiles as a result of the Iran war, and claimed the U.S. had plenty of munitions available. Now, we haven't really covered that too much in this show, although I'm sure it's probably covered up occasionally, but that's been an ongoing theme for basically since the beginning of all this Iran stuff, is the insane degree to which we have been, once again, to do the we thing, to which the U.S. military has been expelling its munitions, particularly interceptor missiles, at a ridiculous degree. And a lot of this has to do with the new paradigm of war being much more on the drone side of things, whereas the U.S. military is far more set up for, paradigm of decades past, essentially. Much more big, fighter jets, big bombs, big, just very centralized, just big, whereas the future is decentralized, small, just kind of. So yes, obviously there's an issue there. Now the U.S. has massive amounts of munitions, especially of certain types, additionally large amounts are being manufactured and shipped to the U.S. as needed, Trump wrote on Truth Social. Defense companies are building the largest number of plants and factories in our country's history. The leakers of those treasonous statements are being hunted down, the president added. Some of the most significant reports about the shortage of advanced munitions didn't come from media reports, but from analysis published by the think tank, the Center for International Studies, which uses publicly available data to produce its estimates. So that's another interesting about all this, another little wrinkle. And so this is, now this kind of falls into bluster territory where it's like, he's like, oh, all these people, blah, blah, blah. Well, this is like open, source information to some degree. Apparently, the open source information that's out there, this is stuff they have to provide to Congress. So it's open. So it kind of leaves little wiggle room for them to be able to be kind of away from, the bottom dollar, essentially. So they could say, oh, well, there's, this obviously means there's leaks coming. Not necessarily. Continuing on, CSIS found the U.S. had used about 60% of its advanced Patriot air defense missiles and about half of its interceptors for the THAAD, or THAAD, missile defense system, though sources told CNN the U.S. had actually used about 80% of its THAADs during the war. So the sources are saying more than actual the money is showing. While Trump says that U.S. arms makers are working to produce more munitions, the current rate of weapons use far exceeds the rate at which they can be produced, and it will take years to significantly increase production. Media reports have also said the U.S. has used up nearly all of its ATACMS missiles and precision strike missiles, which were both used extensively in strikes on Iran. Trump also responded to a report from the Washington Post that he lashed out at U.S. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth over the munition shortages, which one source told the outlet was part of the reason why Trump held off on his threats to dramatically escalate the war. Sources told the Post that on the sidelines of a recent cabinet meeting at Camp David, Trump vented his frustration at Hegseth over the munition shortages. The report said that Hegseth then blamed his deputy, Stephen Feinberg, for both the shortages and for failing to ensure Trump was informed about the issue. The fake news, as usual, is spreading false and completely unfounded rumors. I am extremely happy with the job that Hegseth is doing, Trump wrote on Truth Social. He said the Post published a report despite our telling them the story is completely false, and added they believe their fake reporting is treasonous. Continuing on, this is from the other day. This is more kind of where Trump is saying he is in regards to the negotiations for Iran. Now he's framing it as they are only semi-negotiating. On Sunday, he said the U.S. was low-keying it with Iran and only semi-negotiating with the country. Comments that came after a senior Iranian official laid out multiple conditions for the opening of the Strait of Hormuz. We are only semi-negotiating with them. We are just waiting or watching Iran with its huge inflation and the fact they have no money, Trump told Axios reporter Barak Ravid. Comments that were taken as a signal the U.S. will continue the blockade and economic pressure against Iran, but won't launch a major military escalation. A day earlier, Mohammad Bagher Zolgadar, the head of Iran's Supreme National Security Council, said the conditions for the opening of the Strait of Hormuz include the U.S. ending its threats against Iran, permanently ending the war and other wars against Iran's allies in Lebanon, Gaza, Iraq, and Yemen, lifting the naval blockade on Iranian ports, and pulling back U.S. forces from the region. Zolgadar also laid out economic conditions, including the lifting of all sanctions, the unfreezing of Iranian assets, and compensation for the war damages. The Supreme National Security Council will not retreat from these demands, whether in war or in negotiations, he said, according to Iran's Mayor's news agency. Now, just to recap that real quick, you guys may remember this little thing we called the MOU not too long ago, the United States completely butt-fucked. Well, you may remember some of the terms of that agreement. And you may notice that these terms have gotten way fucking worse. Now they're including Lebanon in here, or they were including Lebanon as well. So, essentially the U.S. needs to end the war, against Gaza, essentially. Now, I will say, I guess I'm looking at this and doesn't say anything. I don't think it says anything about the allies. So I guess you could say maybe it's a little bit softer there. It's not necessarily calling on the U.S. to do anything to Israel, whereas the previous MOU was essentially, entailing Israel also back off. So I don't see anything from there about that, although I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if once they got negotiation, they consider them proxies, much like the U.S. has ridiculously acted like every Muslim entity in the region is a proxy of Iran. So I wouldn't be surprised if they give them a little bit of their own medicine there. But either way, the terms seem to have solidified a little bit more. So Zolgadar demands are similar to the conditions Iran has laid out throughout the war for a broader deal with the U.S., but now Iran is demanding those conditions just to open the Strait of Hormuz, suggesting that Tehran sees the U.S. as weakened in the region and reports of depleting U.S. military stockpiles. And after Iran's military was able to inflict significant damage and casualties in the strikes during the last round of attacks. Iranian officials have previously said that a deal with Oman on the Strait of Hormuz is close, but that it wouldn't mean the waterway would be fully open as the U.S. continued its aggression against the Islamic Republic, referring to the blockade. Wall Street Journal reported on Sunday that Trump was laying the groundwork to declare victory if the Strait of Hormuz was fully open, and suggested to aides that he would be willing to walk away without a nuclear deal. The report said Iran's demands have complicated that idea, and the plan now seems to be to continue the status quo for the time being. And then even more so, we said, from yesterday's, from the latest, essentially, over antiwar.com, kind of where he's at. We have Trump now responding to Iran's calls for compensation, essentially saying that we should be getting compensation. So Trump on Monday responded to an Iranian official calling for the U.S. to provide compensation for damage caused by the war, as a condition for opening the Strait of Hormuz, saying that instead Iran should pay the U.S. Says, I see the representatives of the Islamic Republic of Iran are asking for compensation for the damage done to them during the last 5 months. Military conflict started because they will not have a nuclear weapon, even though it was never mentioned in any of our negotiations or meetings, the president wrote on Truth Social. He added that he was now likewise demanding compensation from Iran for all of the people that they have killed and gravely wounded with their roadside bombs and many conflicts, and falsely linked Iran to the 2000 bombing of the USS Cole off the coast of Yemen. An attack, according to the FBI, was carried out by Al-Qaeda, which I don't think they've really traditionally ever had any sort of known links with Al-Qaeda. If anything, actually, Al-Qaeda is known for kind of being at odds with them. That's part of why we've put one of their leaders in... or as conspiracists like myself think we may have put former leaders of Al-Qaeda in power in areas such as Syria, and that might have a big part to do with it. That's also been an entity that Trump has threatened to release on Iran numerous times, now to the benefit of Syria. And the former Al-Qaeda leader, he did say, I think multiple times, no, we're not doing that. But either way, the idea that Trump seems to even think he can just kind of wield them about like this, I think is a little bit telling. But either way, just kind of pointing out Al-Qaeda and Iran, not homies. So a little weird, but okay. But anyways, yeah, just kind of that indicates where we're at in the back and forth. Not looking good. We also got the U.S. bombing Somalia for the 78th time. So continuing, just really working for the record. So this is a strike targeted Al-Shabaab near Jalib, a village in southern Somalia that's about 200 miles southwest of Mogadishu. As usual, the command offered no other details but the strikes, and there were no comments from the U.S.-backed Somali Defense Ministry about military operations that day. So just a casual reminder, there's record-setting operations occurring regularly over in Somalia. When I say record-setting, I'm referring to how many times they've been bombed. Still well on track to achieve another record this year, as they did last year. Still underreported. Moving on, we got concerns. The nuclear issue could really heat up here. We got Pentagon drafting new nuclear strategy to expand options for tactical nuclear weapons use. So this is they're drafting a new nuclear strategy that's expected to emphasize the use of tactical nuclear weapons to give the president more options in the potential nuclear conflict. Strategy, first reported by NBC, is being drafted by the Pentagon policy chief Elbridge Colby, who has for more than a decade called for the U.S. to develop additional capabilities to fight a limited nuclear war. The idea would be to shift the U.S. nuclear strategy away from the focus of using strategic nuclear weapons to wipe out an adversary's nuclear capabilities and focus more on the possibility of using smaller tactical nuclear weapons in a regional conflict. Oh, isn't that great? They're talking about implementing them at a smaller level as if they're just, normal weaponry. Isn't that wonderful? Just kind of tiptoeing over straight up to nukes. Says if you actually want extended deterrence to be credible, you have to provide the nation's political leadership with nuclear capabilities that common sense indicate you could actually use, a source told NBC. Otherwise, you're reducing our leadership's options to extreme choices the adversary won't find credible. So they're trying to find a lower level nukes, is what they're trying to develop there. Like, we only did an itty bitty widow nuke. So sounds like opening the door to big old nukes, but oh well. Let's move on past that. Let's hope that nothing comes of that. And even more concerning with all this nuclear stuff, they're asking for the money to match it too. So they're asking for the weaponry, they're asking for the money. They're telling you how we might use the weaponry more. We got Hegseth whining and crying about his $1.5 trillion at the new Lindsey Graham military base. They changed the name of Charleston to Joint Base Lindsey Graham. So isn't that wonderful? Does anybody? I think that was actually, if I recall correctly, I think Charleston was one of the options that I could have gotten stationed to. Maybe I'm remembering incorrectly when I finished my tech school. So it's I don't know. I'm pretty sure that's one of the common ones. The KC-135 guys go there. I may be recalling incorrectly, mixing them up with somewhere else, but I just find that funny. It's Lindsey Graham now. I mean, hell, to be a fly on the wall, the military base there. I'm sure the military guys are having a fun time with the new name. Just the biggest flamer of them all. Just loved war, loved dudes. And now he gets a military base. So I just wonder what kind of reputation that'll make it develop. So that's great. So it's a little bit of a dual story here. We got a changing of a military base over to the Lindsey Graham base. And then we got Hegseth crying about the $1.5 trillion military budget and what a big deal it is. And using the death of Lindsey Graham to usher it in. He says, as we gather here today, the War Department is seeking a historic generational investment of $1.5 trillion for American warriors. And Lindsey himself said to me in this office, this is the best military budget I've seen since I've been in Congress. Hegseth said, according to a transcript released by the Pentagon, says this department pays tribute to Lindsey Graham in the naming of the base, but there could be no greater tribute than Congress could give than to invest in our warriors for the full $1.5 trillion. And then adding to it, it's kind of interesting. He had a little bit of story about how they connected a long time ago. This is 19 years ago. Young First Lieutenant Pete Hegseth came back from Iraq and was part of a veterans organization. Wait. Is this from Hegseth saying this? I don't know what the quote was coming from. Okay, this is from Hegseth. Yeah, so he's speaking, of himself in the third person here. Sorry, I got a little confused for a second there. He says part of the group called Vets for Freedom. He says believed in the surge in Iraq and advocated for the troops on the ground, which that's worth honing in on. That's Hegseth saying in his own words. That he believed in the surge and advocated for the troops, which it's funny because I remember when he first got ushered in as the head of the Department of Defense, they were like, oh, this guy's really against neocon stuff. He's changed his ways. He hates the war on terror. He's much like all the other veterans from that era. Nope, it seems like he was for it and saying that right here. He says the first and only senator willing to meet with First Lieutenant Pete Hegseth and Nowheresville Vet for Freedom was Senator Lindsey Graham. So fun. He also said this about Lindsey Graham, what he had to say about the budget they were putting together, about how they were essentially putting together this $1.15 trillion that comes through the NDAA, and then an additional $350 billion coming through supplemental funding bill. The Lindsey Graham had to say about the supplemental funding, the $350 billion. He goes, how about 300? He says he looked at me and says, how's $355 billion sound? This is in the words of Hegseth. He wanted to give even more than $350 billion. He wanted to ensure our military was as equipped as humanly possible because he was thinking of places like this one right here. Continuing on, let's check in on what's going on over in Gaza. I think last we talked about this. I can't remember if it had already come out and they said they changed the terms, or they were saying they disagree with minor terms, or if they had flat out said no about this disarmament plan, because I think it was like last weekish, Trump came out and says, oh, we've got this disarmament plan finalized. We just need whatever. I don't know. Basically, it's good to go. We got this disarmament plan from Hamas. Everyone's good to go. It's going forward. So Hamas is going to disarm. Israel will pull out. Peace will overtake the region. Now Netanyahu has straight up full on said, nope, just straight up nope. So we got Netanyahu on Sunday rejected for the second time a 15-point disarmament plan for Hamas that was announced by Trump and the so-called Board of Peace on July 30th. Israel does not accept the 15-point document, Netanyahu said at the start of a cabinet meeting. According to Reuters, last week, the Israeli leader said the U.S. had sent a draft and that Israel did not agree to it. In his comments on Sunday, Netanyahu added the IDF will not carry out any withdrawal until Hamas is disarmed. It means heavy weaponry, lighter weaponry, all weaponry, and we were talking about genuine disarmament, not fictitious disarmament. And you guys remember this started as they were going to essentially, together as the occupation pulled out, Hamas was supposed to disarm. That was the original agreement. Now Israel has changed the terms to nope, all or nothing in our favor. So under the initial framework announced by Trump and the BOP, Israel was supposed to start withdrawing from Gaza as the process of disarming, called decommissioning, began to take place. But after the BOP officials met with Netanyahu, the U.S.-led body walked back that part of the deal, saying the IDF won't begin withdrawal beyond the yellow line until Hamas has disarmed. But even with the BOP adopting his talking points, Netanyahu has still rejected the deal. The U.S., have ideas, some of which are acceptable to us and some of which are unacceptable to us, he said on Sunday. Obviously, that unacceptable, I think, is probably the whole not occupying, because we've covered numerous times on this show. Pretty much every single one of his ministers below him, it seems, has said, nope, we ain't fucking pulling back of anywhere. And they are dealing with elections right now, so even more so, looks like that's not going to happen when you understand the electoral incentives in place in that evil country. Moving on. Continuing on with Gaza. Now, we have had like a downturn in deaths, and so that's cool. But just kind of frame this, how bad things are, which I will say this connects into the whole turning down the disarmament deal with Gaza. There has been a significant downturn in deaths recently. And as I've said before, there's kind of news has sort of died down in the past week or so. And a lot of that has been Gaza stuff. Apparently there's been a whole lot less deaths, a whole lot less terror in the region. Looks like the IDF has pulled things back a little bit, decided to go from 10, bring it down to not 10. Obviously they weren't at 10. They were more at they've kind of been eking around at 4-ish. Now they're bringing it down to 2-ish of their scale. They're still nowhere near their 10. But either way, they've pulled back a little bit. We're not getting so much of these daily death tolls. Now it's just more onesies, twosies, little woundings here and there, but they're still doing it. And just a little casual reminder of, now I guess, I got off track a little bit there. Connecting it to that other story, there's been essentially lots of overtures from some of the political entities over there, Netanyahu and some of his ilk, of we're not doing this, but look, but yeah, we're not doing the deal to have peace in the region, to pull back the occupation, but there's less death. So they're literally pointing this as reasoning for why they, it's not as big of a deal that they're not pulling out, they're not doing this, they're not doing that, because, we're behaving in the region, so it's okay, so don't worry about it. That's the way it's being framed. But even with that framing, it's absolutely abysmal, and UNICEF has found a way to kind of point this out. They've said Israeli attacks in Gaza have killed 1 child per day since the ceasefire has started. So kind of a good way to frame that, to kind of understand that, this is nowhere near something that's okay, that you can keep up. Those bitches need to get out. So 1 per day since ceasefire started. Before I was using the Rubin standard, thought it was ridiculous that when he got gangbanged by all those liberal college students, essentially pointing out how ridiculous he is on Gaza, when he is blown away that, there's bombing in Gaza? Meanwhile, there's been literally bombing almost every single day. That's been a good way to frame it. Even more so, this is an even better way to probably frame the horror. 1 child per day since the ceasefire. So that's under ceasefire standards. 1 child per day. That's definitely 1 child too many. And then we also have an uptick over in the West Bank. It seems like anytime we see a downturn anywhere, you're going to see an uptick somewhere else. Once again, here we go. We see settler attacks on Palestinians surged by 63% in occupied West Bank during first half of 2026. Then popping in over in Lebanon. Let's check in what's going on over there. As I said, less deaths over here, though, so that's cool. U.S. brokered Israel-Lebanon talks have already adjourned for the month of August. But as the war continues, various controversies raise doubts over whether it would be worth coming back to the table in September, and indeed if Israel's taking these matters seriously. The latest rounds of controversies raise doubts over whether it would be worth coming back to the table in September, and indeed if Israel's taking these matters seriously. The latest rounds of controversies started Monday with Israeli Foreign Ministry publishing a map on social media aiming to downplay child malnutrition in the Gaza Strip. The map rather conspicuously made Lebanon substantially smaller than it actually is, and added quite a bit of Lebanon south to Israel. Israel deleted the map and claimed it was an error the Lebanese government is reportedly investigating, but notably hasn't made any public comments regarding the matter. Hezbollah isn't being so quiet about it. So more to this idea of are they leaving? Probably not. Rather, Hezbollah issued a statement calling on Lebanon to halt direct talks over the map, accusing the Israelis of incorporating occupied Lebanon into their territory in an effort to impose new realities on the situation. Adding more confusion to the already struggling negotiations Israel reportedly also raised the prospect of a civilian prisoner exchange, which would allow Lebanon to recover the civilians Israel has recaptured so far over the course of the war. In return, they wanted the Lebanese government to exhume remains of Lebanese Jews and send them to Israel. So that's, I think, a clear example of like a poison pill in there. The idea that these people are going to exhume a bunch of bodies and send them to Israel. It's just making the deal ridiculously difficult. Historically, Lebanon had a rather substantial Jewish community, and both Beirut and Sidon have historic Jewish cemeteries. The expectation they'd be dug up and their bodies given to the Israeli state was previously never broached and reportedly bewildered the Lebanese negotiating team. So it sounds like I gave them the benefit of the doubt, and maybe they were saying like Jews that had somehow died, like IDF soldiers or something, and for some reason maybe they can't get the bodies. But no, they're talking about like literally like Lebanese Jews. So that's going to be a lot of people. In return, Israel, and from like generations past, in return, Israel would only retain those captives they're confident aren't Hezbollah, and since they were presumably captured and occupied southern Lebanon, there's nothing to prevent Israel from simply recapturing them on their return, while Lebanon's cemeteries clearly have a finite number of people to exchange for them. This proposal further raises questions about Israel's seriousness in the talks, as Israel is reportedly refusing to discuss withdrawing from Lebanon or even halting attacks on Lebanon, but is now transitioning the talks to minutiae regarding centuries-old cemeteries. With that, let's roll in chat, check in you guys, see what you guys got to say, and then we'll get into the first name segment of the day, Miller Madness. A lot of clips for today. Here's K Sharp says Sanjay Gupta was the one who showed Toe Rogan in yellow face. Yep. Good morning, everyone. I think John Black over here on Rumble now. I think he was on YouTube earlier. Good morning. McLeod says Charleston's also big on C-17s. Yeah, I knew it was like a heavies base. I just couldn't remember if it had 135s there. So I think that was one of the options that I had whenever I got out of tech school. So yeah. Good morning, Mustache. Good morning. Says, pardon me, I've said this before, but the plans for Greater Israel include all of Lebanon. They plan to take over the entire country and make it Israel. You are very correct, my friend. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get into the Max Miller madness. I think I mentioned this offhand that we might get into this like a week or so ago, and the Max Miller, because I thought it was like really juicy. It was kind of the perfect little pairing to the whole Graham Plattner ridiculousness. And at first, when this first came out, I alluded to in the chat that, like, okay, obviously, at face value, before I dug into it, obviously, to me, worse than the Graham Plattner from the jump. Like, I have no reason to really come to the rescue of Graham Plattner here. I don't know. I wouldn't be least surprised if he did the things he's accused of. But if you're just comparing and contrasting the two things, it's like the Max Miller thing on its face looks way worse to me, in my opinion, than the Plattner thing really ever did. Because it's like kind of, supposed iffy. I don't know. It's much more murky territory, the Plattner thing, whereas this seems much more overt. Yes, you are still dealing with like exes in both situation, but I mean, one's some like random chick he met on like some dating site or something that he dated for years. The other's one's like his wife and child. So you're just kind of comparing and contrasting. One just looked on his face looks worse, and to me that was the Max Miller thing. But I even said then when we mentioned it kind of casually, but I was like, even like the Plattner thing, I was like, the coverage I was getting at that moment, I was like, it does feel like the left is going a little bit over the skis. Now, I was like, I will give them, they have a point in the hypocrisy thing compared to the Plattner thing. But I was like, I think they're going a little bit hard in the paint from what we have so far at that time. I forget exactly when that time frame was, and I hadn't looked into it as much as well. Well, that has definitely changed. The more I've looked into this, the more the guilty this guy looks. But I did want to throw it out there because, like, kind of, from the jump, I will say, like, even when I was still kind of more, like, I guess I wouldn't say on his side, but more open to being skeptical to the allegations, I guess would be the way to say it, or more skeptical of the allegations. I will still, even at first, I was like, he doesn't do himself doesn't do himself any benefit in some of the stuff he's saying. But I was like, okay, maybe he has some point to it. Maybe. And I think so. I just want to throw that out there. That's where I was. Things have changed. But I mean, we're going to kind of start from the beginning here. So just kind of, as you guys get to see, I guess, the head change of where I was at. So I think one of the first things, I mean, I'd seen some stuff before. This is probably one of the best spots to start at, though, from like one of the initial things I saw. I didn't watch this whole video, but I just kind of saw that this came out. I saw some of the captions, obviously, like of people, people talking about. I don't think I've watched. I mean, maybe I've watched little bits and pieces, but I don't think I've watched this whole clip yet. But either way, like this is one of the first things, like the revelation of him coming out and speaking for himself, and then all their people talking about. I saw that all on my feed. Everybody talk about it. I didn't watch the full video, but I saw that come out, and the impression I got, everyone's over their skis. He didn't do himself really any favors, but it's like, I don't know. Still sort of, that's where I was at. But let's watch the video now. So that was where the commentary online was at that time, but let's watch the video.
My former wife, her.
I think when we had talked about it, there was like the claims had surfaced from the wife or something like that. Either they were starting to go public, like big public.
Here's what actually happened, and I have the Ring doorbell footage that backs it up. She came to my home in a good mood, and we have text messages to prove it, which you'll have, to pick up our daughter early for a friend's birthday party. She was inside my house for several minutes when she left. The video shows her walking out, carrying our daughter calm, in the same good mood, showing no distress whatsoever. And as they left, you can hear me say, "Goodbye, I love you, and I love you, Ruthie," literally telling my ex-wife that I still cared for her. Does that sound like somebody who would just walk out and who had been violently thrown a wall and been abused? She didn't call the police after that. She didn't go to the hospital, ladies and gentlemen. Do you want to know what she did? She went straight to a child's birthday party. The very next day, we had a friendly phone call about our daughter's upcoming hospital procedure, and I drove in from Washington to be there for it. 6 days later, she offered to cook empanadas for me for dinner, just 2 days later after this alleged incident. The day after that, she invited me and my girlfriend, and which you'll have in text messages, to join her and our daughter at a playground. And that day, I just went with my former wife to the playground to spend time with our daughter. A week later, on February 15th, she wrote to me in her own words, which you will see, "I think it's great you and I are in a friendlier place." She then offered me more extra overnights with our daughter, which I can prove to every single one of you is recently. Every one of these messages is time-stamped on our court-sanctioned co-parenting app and is all in the packet. Only weeks later did the story of February 1st assault appear, so ask yourself, if I had assaulted her, would she have offered to cook me dinner 6 days later? Would she have invited me to spend an afternoon at the playground with her and our daughter? Would she have written that we were in a friendlier place? No, she wouldn't have, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, so there's the video. I do think it's funny here. This is what most people saw, is this little quote. Most people like myself obviously didn't watch the full clip. It says, and this is the little quote I think a lot of people saw here. It says, "My former wife has claimed that during a custody exchange in my home the day I assaulted her," obviously going into later in the quote. It says, "If I had assaulted her, would she have offered to cook me dinner 6 days later?" Now, obviously, absent context, you're like, that to me is like, I don't know, for me, looking absent context, not knowing exactly what he's talking about, that does sound ridiculous, because it's like, oh, if I beat my wife, why was dinner on table on time? What the next day? What are you talking about? So it is like kind of ridiculous, if we're talking about domestic abuse, the idea of like, oh, would she cook me dinner if I beat her? You're like, what kind of logic are we using here? I don't know. It's kind of like, these are usually one of these things like kind of tied up with like, well, jokingly, like, you beat her because she didn't make dinner, or because, so it's like, well, because she made me dinner 6 days later. Do you think that means it? Okay, now, as we just found that clip, he seemingly, I guess, had already kind of moved on, had a new girlfriend. So it does make it a little bit more uniquely bizarre, perhaps, although we don't even know the context. This literally could just be him coming through with his girlfriend and him offering, you go to some visitor's house and they have food that they just made or something. Oh, would you like some? Like, I know whenever I used to go see my mother-in-law, she'd always have some sort of fucking food and be like, do you want to eat? So and let's be real. I'm going to point out something with this guy right here. It's not really, that essential, although it kind of, I guess, becomes a little bit more a substantive point later on. Just check early life on this guy. I'm just check early life. That's all I'm saying. Anyways, just bizarre, terrible. So on its face, doesn't look good. Just not a great excuse. Everyone's kind of running with, would she cook me dinner? Like I said, they're broken up though, so it is a little bit more bizarre. But like I said, also, we don't even know the context. So it's like, is it bizarre? Is it not? It's a very, very weak leg to stand on here. Very much centered on the wife. Also, the claims of abuse to the wife. So this is kind of where I'm coming from when I first laid eyes or ears-ish started digging into this. Like, this is what everything seemed to focus on. And I will say to his, I think it's what he wanted. I think it was probably intentional, a funneling of attention to specifically that specific claim. The claim of assault against her. Because if he can downplay that, but there were a whole lot of other things. And it also kind of frames as if it's like she's the sole person, jilted ex-wife, just her. Well, that's not entirely accurate. Here is Sally Marco says, in this live video, Max Miller stated the allegations only stemmed from his ex-wife. She says wrong. Said there are allegations. Now I will say she's saying wrong. She said, but she says the allegations. So I think to be fair, he's referring to like the current allegations. But what she's pointing out, there are other allegations out there that point to a similar pattern of behavior. Because there are allegations that he threw a girl down the stairs in high school, that he was expelled from college for a violent incident involving a female student, and also abused his ex-girlfriend Stephanie Grisham, which, who knows, maybe they're all lying. It's perfectly possible, but it's also not just the ex-wife. It's not just as simple as that. But like I said, they did focus on this specific claim of abuse, and I will say this is kind of where I get into the realm of like, well, this does seem kind of perhaps ridiculous. So as when he dropped that video, at that same time, him and his his administration or his staff or whatever you want to call it released a bunch of different stuff. His lawyers, I think, released a bunch of information. I haven't looked for it online. You guys can, but one of such things was this audio clip they're about to play concerning the supposed abuse of the wife. Apparently, this was people repeating that he poured scalding water on his ex-wife. And you're like, whoa, that sounds insane. It sounds like somebody boiled some fucking water, took a pot of boiling water, and then just chucked it on somebody. Well, I'm not quite entirely sure that's what happened here. But even still, bear in mind, this shouldn't do all the legwork of your understanding of this whole story. And I think there's probably a good reason he's focusing on it. But either way, here is that specific claim.
It never was done to hurt you. You know that you were weaponizing this because of my previous allegation.
And if you knew it was because you went into my room when I was crying.
So Emily,
you started crying. Saying, I didn't mean to hurt you. I didn't mean to hurt you. Why are you scared of me? Why are you scared of me?
I didn't mean to hurt you. It wasn't done with intent. You just said it yourself. You literally just said it yourself. It wasn't done to hurt you. And I told you before that not to come over to me and start screwing around with me.
I wasn't trying to screw around with me.
Emily,
I was trying to give you a hug.
You're taking a playful incident and making something nefarious. It does not get to a temperature of boiling water. It does not.
Put it on when you get home, Max, and see if you can get
I did it, and I tested it, and I had our attorneys test it because I figured that this is what you were going to come at me with.
It's literally at you.
But literally, it's like standing under a hot shower, and we already have someone to go ahead and combat this if this is what you're going to do.
All right, now this is, I guess, probably the final moment where I was like, well, okay, maybe this guy's honest. Maybe he's being unfairly maligned, because I will say to this. This does sound ridiculous. It sounds retarded. The first little bit, you're like, what's going on here? But then the last little bit there where they're talking about that it came out of the faucet, he's kind of got a little bit of a point there. Like, to me now it sounds like he was like doing something, I don't know, like what you've seen in like playful movies, somebody like, you turn on the little spray function on the little sink faucet and you spray somebody, because most people's sinks these days have the little pull out handle and so you can kind of move it all around or whatever, and so you just kind of spray your girlfriend, your wife or whatever, like just being cute, and like, stop it. Well, it kind of makes it sound like something more along those lines. I mean, I don't know exactly what was going on here. It's really hard to understand. But either way, they're saying came from the faucet. So it's like hot water in the faucet. I've used my sink quite regularly, and I use it pretty much almost all the time when I'm doing dishes and stuff on the highest heat setting. It never is like, I think it's like a borderline scalding, but it's endurable. Although I do have fairly rough skin, so I don't know. I know my wife, that's taught to touch it at the hottest setting and will be like, ooh, ah, ooh, ah. But it's like, it's not that bad. Like, so if you did get like, I don't know. I guess so to me, it kind of makes it sound more like she just got sprayed with some hot water out of a faucet real quick. I mean, who knows whether it was intentional or not, whether it was hot. They're even debating whether it's intentional. So it just seems like much more, seems like a far different scenario than what was being laid out. And I don't know. Maybe there was some malicious something other. Now, I will say when it does come to water, I mean, I know you can turn up your water heater. So you can actually turn up your water heater to a point where it could be scalding water. But now we're just getting into weird territory where it's like, was this guy like intentionally raising the heat so he can scald his girlfriend or wife or whatever? I don't know, but I will say the more he talks, the less open to him being innocent I become. And here is one example of this. As I said, this clip heavy day. This dude for some reason decided to do full court press, and that's to our advantage. So we have a ton of clips to go over. Here is him with Jake Tapper over on CNN, and for some reason thought this was a good idea.
There are now three women who have accused you of violent behavior. Politico published a report in 2021 that says when you were in high school, you, quote, pushed a girl out of the dorm of his room and she fell down some stairs after he became enraged when she resisted his attempts to touch her, according to three people who were there and many more who heard about the incident in the aftermath. Now, you deny that, but the woman in question told Mother Jones reporter Abby Vasulis just days ago that it happened and was, quote, one of the more traumatic nights of her life. Now,
I would love for that individual to go on the record because that.
Okay.
Jake, I was
hold on, because I'm not done with the list of women that have accused you of violence. Then there is former White House press secretary. Okay, you were young. Then there's a former White House press secretary, Stephanie Grisham, who was your ex-girlfriend. She accused you of being abusive and having a violent streak. She wrote in her book, quote, I could do nothing right by him. I would wake up every morning shaking with anxiety about his mood that day. I had seen his temper before, and it had scared me, unquote. She has recently filed a temporary restraining order against you in a defamation case. And now they're...
Just a little backup real quick. I did find it a little bit weird. This broad wrote a book. Stephanie Grisham is her name. This is his ex-girlfriend. But I think the title, or particularly the subtitle of her book, really speaks volumes here. The name of her book is I'll Take Your Questions Now. The subtitle being What I Saw at the Trump White House. So keep that in mind. Kind of... you see where she's coming from, and there's kind of lots of... Essentially, this guy is one of Trump's boys, which you'll get that impression more as we go.
Temporary restraining order against you in a defamation case. And now there are these claims from your ex-wife, Emily Marino. And I guess the question is, are all three of these women who don't know each other, are all three of them lying?
Yes, it's very easy, and I can tell you why. Every single time, and people have asked me, what are you going to do? Are you going to drop out of this race? Are you going to resign? Are you going to get out before the deadline? And my answer to you, Jake, is no. And I can tell you why. In 2016, when President Donald J. Trump faced the most extreme allegations in the world that hit him day after day after day, and people in the media, very much like yourself and others, said that he would have no shot at winning, that he should not be the President of the United States. But guess what? He stayed in and he was resilient. And what the American people can see is that they can see that somebody is fighting who is resilient, and that is a quality that the American people cherish. And so for no second am I going to sit here and continue to be debased by false and baseless allegations and be pushed out of a seat I have worked so hard to represent and done a terrific job for our community. My record in Congress on the Ways and Means and House Foreign Affairs and bringing back money for our district and standing up for the Ukrainian people and also voting to protect Obamacare during this entire time. This is why no one's attacking me on my policy, Jake, because they can't. I've been a good legislator. All they're trying to do is create rumor mills without evidence. It's all hearsay. All hearsay.
Do you realize...
Which, by the way, it's not hearsay. It's I guess not to be too semantic here, but it's not hearsay. These are first-hand testimony from what was it? I think at least three. I may be losing track. Women. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. Now, if you are talking about with a first-hand testimony, there's always the person could be lying, but that's not hearsay. That's their direct testimony as according to them. So, yeah, not looking so great. As I said, it's the more he talks, the less open him being, isn't it? Obviously, the
There are
hilarity
now
here of
3
him
women.
pointing out, of him being asked, essentially, are you essentially, he was asked, like, are all 3 of the women accusing you lying? He says, like, and his reasoning is like, he's like, yeah. I was like, well, he's like, look at Donald Trump, look at all the allegations he had. So I just thought it was kind of funny to a little casual reminder here. He's the little doodle Trump did for his boy Epstein. What was it, the 50th, I think? 50th birthday book they put together. Here's a little Donald Trump doodle with his little Donald Trump signature being what is probably I don't know, maybe this is a flat-chested lady. There's a flat-chested lady, but that's her pubes with that weird cryptic poem or limerick or whatever you want to call it that Trump wrote for his boy Jeffrey. So yeah, not looking so great. Here's another clip from him, to which I say the accusations be whooping his ass.
Because there is a police report from the suspected child abuse.
And so this is another one that is like, yes, it was to his advantage they focused on the wife's accusations. This one is the accusations on the daughter, the supposed collarbone breaking. But here you go.
Incident in February involving your daughter, and that report details that the child protection team says that your child had a right clavicle fracture and, quote, a bruise that accompanies the injury that appears to be in a handprint and appears to have been inflicted, unquote. Now, your ex-wife stated to police that your child told her in the days leading up to the discovery of the injury, quote, "Daddy, kill you." And your ex-wife also said your child had said, "Daddy angry and Daddy's house is scary." Now, according to your wife, your daughter articulated these statements to Children and Family Services. So can you explain why your child may have said those things?
Jake, I wish you could talk to my beautiful baby girl. She can't string together sentences like that. She's 2.5 years old. She doesn't have the ability to articulate any of what you just said. That is an entire fabrication of the truth. I have actual video, actual documentation.
But didn't you just tell me that
through two investigations.
You just told me that she had said that she was scared to go to mommy's house.
She is, and I have video of it.
But now you're saying that she's not capable of saying, "Daddy, kill you"? I mean, it seems like she's either able to say one but not the other.
Jake,
that doesn't make sense.
Jake, to be very direct, this is incredibly disturbing. I am not going to my child to say, "Daddy, kill you." You have to look at the timing of everything that is taking place, right? What about due process? I have already been through these investigations, and I know that I've said that now 3 times, and we're kind of just blowing past this. But these are individuals who do their jobs to protect kids. And the main job of the court and the main job of Child Protective Family Services and the main job of our judge who has been appointed to our divorce case is to make sure that our daughter is safe. And every single one of those individuals has agreed with me. I have full shared.
All right. So that's once again accusations whipping that ass. So which I'm fully on Tapper's side here. Like, with this is ridiculous. He's supposedly saying that she couldn't articulate, which that doesn't make sense from the jump. What did he say? It was like 2-year-old. I guess he had said before that the child had essentially told her they was scared to go to the mom's house, but then for some reason she's somehow not able to articulate "Daddy, kill you" or "Daddy, do other things." They're only like small statements. And now I will say, on the flip side, there always is the concern when you're dealing with these young children; these can be manipulated by parents. There's always that. But obviously his logic here is quite ridiculous. It doesn't quite hold up. But it's just, I don't know. Even here's another clip here that just kind of the audacity of this guy. Here you go.
I am an upstanding father who takes great care of our daughter, and that I have never hurt her or my ex-wife under any circumstances, and nothing, and I mean nothing, investigations, all of this stuff, no one pursued it because it's so ridiculous and it's not real. And it's sad to see that the only person that this affects is our daughter. And it's something that obviously I don't think that she cares about very much.
Did you
I am an upstanding.
So there he is saying, no, I will say he said something I don't think she cares. The quote says someone I don't think she cares about. No, something. I know that seems insignificant, but that does make, I guess, a little bit of a difference. A little less harsh, I think, if you're saying something as opposed to someone. It's less directed at a specific person, while obviously still being directed at a specific person. But yeah, obviously looking like a complete dirtbag. Here's one more, just kind of in his defenses of himself that are absolutely just weak as fuck. Here's him saying, if the allegations are true, I'd be in prison. Arthur Bloom, great journalist, by the way, saying probably not. We all know Israel firsters are able to get away with all kinds of important things, including children with total impunity. Involving children with total impunity. So here you go. Here's another clip saying, if it was true, he'd be in prison.
Ask you one last question, and I do appreciate your taking the questions here. Yeah. Is there anyone in your life, whether it's Republican leadership or your family or your girlfriend or anyone, is there anyone saying it really might be in the best interests for your daughter and for your own mental health to drop out, take a moment? You're still a young guy. You can always come back. That it might be actually in your best interests to drop out and your daughter's best interests?
You know what? That is a question, Jake, I have been struggling with, look, over the last couple of weeks. But I'm going to look at you the same way I think you would look at me if you were in my shoes, which is I am never going to give up. And what I mean by that is my daughter's going to grow up one day, and she's going to see all of this. And she's not going to see that her father caved to political and social media pressures for something that he never did. And furthermore than that, there are more than 50% of the people within this country who are divorced. And men get a really bad shake when it comes to family court. And it's not addressed enough in any way possible. And so here's what I can tell you is that I've received more support than ever from our community, from the people where I live. And that is why we are going to stay in this race and be successful. And you're right. The allegations, they're incredibly troubling. I agree they're troubling. But if they were true, I'd be in prison. And there's the only reason out of myself and other Republican colleagues that I'm the only one that doesn't have an active investigation into it. And so at the end of the day, I let the truth speak for itself, and the truth is right there. And I will never, ever, ever let my baby girl see her dad walk away as a quitter. I will continue to finish this, and if I have to run all the way to the end and I'm not successful, Jake, then that's a decision that I decide to make, and I can hold my head way up high knowing that I fought for the truth no matter what circumstances and no matter what came my way every single day, that Ruthie Miller will know that she's proud of her dad who bears my last name.
I mean, I do feel really bad for the daughter during all of this, but let's, I guess, keep on that same track of what's going on with the daughter, the accusations there, because obviously those are like the most meaningful. I mean, obviously it's not okay to beat your wife, but it's obviously doubly so not okay to beat your children. But here's a clip about more on the supposed accusations and the child abuse. Let's watch this.
Congressman, your daughter fractured her collarbone, and there was a handprint on her upper chest, and it left a bruise. How did that happen?
Well, what I can tell you is that I didn't do that. And the 9 out of 11 of the previous days was within my ex-wife's care. What's so troubling about Child Protective Services, Rob, is that my daughter was never seen personally by a doctor from CPS. What they did is they looked at a photo, and from what I can tell you, that 2 separate individuals who are, one, our parent coordinator, and another doctor who helps us with, Emily and ourselves, okay, to manage these issues, they both attributed this injury to our daughter falling out of the crib in Emily's care. And then that's why she took her to the emergency room without telling me. And then therefore a CPS investigation was opened.
But she was in your care for 2 of those 11 days, is that correct?
For 2 of the 11 days, but when she was within my care, Child and Family Protective Services looked at photos and saw that no bruises or anything happened, and that her arm was completely functional, and that I had nothing to do with anything, and that is why I still have full shared parenting and custody with no supervision.
As I said.
Okay. Well, let's go to the back of the start of that video. I feel like they showed. I was hoping maybe they showed an actual picture of it. And I guess you see a picture of a blurred out baby for a moment. So I will say I still would like to see some actual sort of proof before I jump on anything here. But once again, given his whole track record of excuses, doesn't look great. But I mean, I don't know. We're not seeing any pictures of this so-called abuse. It's supposedly what a handprint, although they're saying broke a collarbone, or fractured a collarbone, because I mean, it sounds like when they describe it, it's like they're talking about almost as if it's just the handprint, just leaving a bruise. But a fracture is like, correct me if I'm wrong somewhere in the chat, I don't think you can say a fracture and not mean like an actual break. Like it's got to be like an actual break, right? Like, I mean, maybe it could be like a hairline fracture. I guess I'm trying to understand a way that a fracture could be insignificant. I think any sort of fracture is going to be generally pretty rough, and if you're being diagnosed as supposedly having that, then that's more than just some little itty bitty something or other. I mean, I guess that could have been happened from falling out of the crib, but I mean, I don't know. That seems like you would need some probably significant something or other to happen there. I don't know, but either way, still pretty scant on any sort of evidence we have there, but we do have other claims pertaining his daughter that kind of make him look like a giant fucking asshole, regardless of whether he did actually physically abuse her. There are claims of what I would say probably is emotional abuse for a child, although unfortunately his whole situation seems like it. Here is apparently there's the whole ordeal of the blue bunny of the child. Keep in mind we're dealing with like a 2 and under, very, very little. It's very common. Anyone's had a small child, they have some given thing that's like their thing and they love and they need to take everywhere, and it's absolutely emotionally jarring if they can't. And the little Ruthie had another similar such thing, a little blue bunny. So let's hear about that.
So I meet him at the Bay Village Police Station because that's the place that we have to go to meet, because I don't know what this guy's capable of. She comes over, gets in our car, we drive away, and if anybody's a parent, she has a little blue bunny that she sleeps with. Max would not hand over the little blue bunny, literally hostage for 48 hours. This girl is crying at night because she can't sleep without her little blue bunny. His answer is, I'm just not going to give it to you. So finally yesterday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, yesterday, he lets the little blue bunny go. This is the level of total and complete depravity. So
claims from that, by the way, is what is his name? I forget the first name. It's Moreno. I just can't remember. It'll come back up. It's what is his name? Bernie Moreno. Bernie Moreno. That's actually the father of I can't think of her name. The other Moreno, obviously his daughter, the one's married to Miller. Emily Moreno is the name of the wife. So that's the father of, by the way, also a Republican. So kind of this adds a whole other wrinkle that we'll get into in a second. But continuing along the blue bunny thread, here is a screenshot of an email from August from Emily Moreno's lawyer reaching out to Miller's attorney, or Miller's as well. This is August 3rd, so this I guess like just about a week or so ago. It says, forward Blue Bunny, says Pam, for no apparent reason, Max is not returning Redacted's Blue Bunny to Emily. Dr. Korick tried to get the Blue Bunny back. Dr. K made clear that despite her recommendation that the Blue Bunny stay with Emily, Max refuses to return it. Why must this be a controversy? This is totally ridiculous. Please have Max return the bunny forthwith. Thank you, Andrew. So even more to this whole bunny story. Now let's come in. Okay, we've covered the blue bunny thing. Let's come back to the father-in-law. So there was initially, when I first was digging the story, an odd little bit where Moreno was oddly quiet. Like we had a few different political leaders that spoken on the situation here and there, mostly, especially the Republican side of it, covering for it, but suspiciously, Bernie very quiet. And a lot of people are kind of like, what the fuck is going on here? Seems like all the Republican side of the aisle just shutting the fuck up. We're going to let this guy get through. We're just going to, up to including the father of the supposed victim, which is kind of like, holy shit. And I guess he just, I don't know if it's shamed enough or the timing is right, but he finally got in the mix of all of this. And right around that time he got into the mix of all of this is, when when Miller dropped all of it, did his little confessional, and also dropped a ton of info. One of the things that came out in this info was a little note in there, and this is the claim. It says, "I'm sick of this." This is from Max to Bernie. Bernie Moreno, the Republican in Ohio. He says, "I'm sick of this. You know I never hurt our daughter, or never hurt our daughter." That's weird to say this. Or he's meaning the little kid. Never mind. He says, "Take this however you want. Everyone is going to get to know you better than your wife does," Miller wrote to Bernie Moreno in the text. "Enjoy the ride, brother. I wouldn't have to do this if you would keep your lying daughter under control." So this is from Max Miller, a current prospective politician, to Bernie Moreno. Is claiming, essentially outing him for something. Well, here is him on CNN with Jake Tapper. Here is an example. Here's him saying that once again. So he doesn't even back away from these. So this is something that was revealed, a threat, kind of behind the scenes initially. So it wasn't even overtly being said. But then he went ahead and just straight up said it publicly. So not even privately, now straight up publicly. Here is Miller verbalizing these same threats once again.
With your former father-in-law's story today about your daughter and the little blue bunny doll that she cannot sleep without. If it's true, that sounds like emotionally abusive behavior toward a toddler to refuse to give it to her when she can't sleep without it.
Jake, I would agree that if that were true, that would be incredibly disturbing and that the senator would be right. However, he has taken 2 years to publicly acknowledge for me to resign from my seat. Why is that, Jake? If he truly believed, like I'm a father to a 2.5-year-old daughter, I believe that you're also a father to children. And I don't know if you're actually a father to a daughter. But what I can tell you is, well, Jake, then what I can tell you is that if my daughter came to me and she said, my ex-husband did X, Y, and Z, and then I waited because I was nervous that a political live stream was going to expose a deeply impersonal, embarrassing matter to the senator for him to take that action. Sadly, this has nothing to do with my daughter, Jake. And that's what this entire thing is about. This is nothing more than an individual who's being politically vindictive and talking about a blue bunny when I have text messages I can show you from our parent coordinator, who is a mandatory court reporter, who said that Mr. Moreno would be coming over my home, and then another individual came who I don't know.
Well, first of all,
another individual that I don't know. It's exposing a deeply and personal, embarrassing matter. I think there was other clips of him, in some of the, because I think he had the CNN one, the other one that I keep showing the clips from. I should probably give them credit if it comes up again. What is this? This is Newsmax. So he also went on Newsmax. So the Newsmax was the other major clip. But yeah, so he also repeated those, veiled threats, not very well veiled threats to over multiple times. So it's kind of verbalizing it multiple different ways. Here's Moreno again, once again, kind of getting in the mix, essentially him characterizing this whole situation once again. Sorry. Production issues. Here you go.
Truly the 7th level of hell. This has been a horrific experience for my entire family. My daughter lives in constant fear of this man. Not like something that's existential, but deeply in her heart, she fears what this guy is capable of. You can't fathom what that makes me feel like when the dad's #1 job is to protect your kids. This has been brutal, beyond comprehension, and if there's any minimum standard for being an elected official, as I said, he fails to meet that minimum basic standard. I don't care about the politics at all. Don't think about it. Doesn't enter my consciousness.
Now, Moreno is another interesting figure. Highly being implied there's some sort of dirt over there. Apparently, there's rumors. I guess there was some previous scandal of some sort that I don't think really ever got up too, big up there. I mean, I don't know. I'm not over in Ohio. Maybe it was a big deal over in Ohio. But apparently he was found like on some dating profile looking for dudes or something like that. That got written off as by some joke, as some staffer I guess took claimed that was a joke that they did or something. on Moreno, but now we have this resurfacing of this. Looks more like maybe not so much a joke, although let's be real. What kind of fucking joke would that be? Weird ass joke, but whatever. He did supposedly have someone that fell on the sword for him in the past. He's also an interesting figure if you take a look at his early life and also his how he's ran politically. He's kind of framed himself as some sort of rough upstart. His early life kind of things were rough. He was kind of the whole immigrant to American story. I had a rough upbringing. Times were hard. Yada yada. American values. Herder. Now here I am. Well, it's not quite so simple. Apparently, he actually comes from a pretty wealthy, fairly politically connected family in Colombia, and now here he is, Colombia, having a pretty peachy relationship with this current. Actually, no, it's Colombia, or maybe I mixed up my. Either way, interesting guy. Kind of like where he comes from and how he's essentially framed himself politically, and here he is now. He's not quite as simple as from a rags to riches as he likes to frame things politically. So just throwing that out there. There's a little bit of fruitiness going on here, but I will say this guy right here kind of comes off with a sympathetic glow. I do think there probably is skeletons in his closet. Wouldn't be the least bit surprised if he's got a little bit of fruitcake tendencies, but at the same time, it looks like he is. I mean, I don't know. He does seem like he may have got pulled in here against his own inclinations, but it's hard to tell too, because there's also lots of reports that apparently a lot of the silence was due to not wanting to get in the mix on his daughter's behalf, which totally makes sense as well. So I don't think his silence necessarily indicates one thing or another, but a lot of people have used that as a way to kind of jump on one side or the other. But I will say I don't know his motivations, but at the end of the day, he is a father coming to the aid of his daughter. Even if it is for cynical reasons, it's hard to be against the guy. But anyways, so just saying there is that as well with this guy. Then also too, there's also weird claims coming from Miller as opposed in regards to supposed the relationship between Moreno and his daughter, which given everything we've kind of seen from Miller, I mean, I will be honest, it kind of. Okay. I put doubt very much on this, but I do think it's worthwhile pointing out to you guys that he's making whatever sort of insinuations this is. So here you go.
And okay. He knew, and that I knew, we've had personal, private conversations about mental health history. And in his own words, he told me that I could leave his daughter if I wanted to, and he offered her $5 million to go away. And these are private conversations that we've had together. And unfortunately, him and I were very close. But the only thing that ripped us apart, sadly,
Bernie Moreno offered his own daughter $5 million to leave you?
No. Bernie Moreno offered his daughter $5 million to leave him and the family.
Explain that.
Several years ago, Emily was such a problem for the family that Bernie Moreno, as Emily has told me, as well as her siblings, that in an argument, Miss Moreno dislocated Mr. Moreno's finger in an argument and offered her $5 million to leave the family forever. And I want to make something abundantly clear, Rob. I'm a father to a daughter.
Do you have any proof of that, Congressman?
Besides me being there as a witness within the family when we had good times, yeah, I was there, and I can affirm that to be true.
Okay, just his claim. I don't think there's any, when he says proof, I don't think he actually means there's any legitimate proof other than his first-hand claim, which he would say that is hearsay. But and I do find it funny, this Newsmax guy is kind of all of us in the moment when that was dropped. Like, what? I have no idea how to incorporate them in my reality. If there's any truth to it, it's such a bizarre claim that you're like, maybe it's true. I mean, it just seems a bizarre thing to say. But given his performance and all of his responding to all the other claims out there, I'm very open to thinking this guy is just a brazen liar. But either way, this is out there, and I think it's worthwhile pointing it out. Coming back around to the larger political significance of all of this, the big dog himself, old Donnie T. Here's Max Miller speaking on that again, talking about him talking to Trump. Like, where's Trump in all of this? Is he pushing one way or the other? Is he on board with Team Miller? It's hard. it's looking so far, everything's team Trump full bore ahead, because we all know if Trump and his people put out the signal that like Max Miller is out, even if it was quietly, like he wouldn't have to put the hit out publicly. Even if it was quietly, that motherfucker would get buried. So, but we have Miller going on CNN talking about his phone calls to Trump, and here's how he's characterizing it.
And it was settled. And there's a reason for that. And that's all I can say regarding
Let me ask you.
But if you're asking... Sorry,
you spoke with the president yesterday. Did he tell you what he is telling aides privately, that he does not think you can win?
And I've gotten a million phone calls about this, and this is what's so troubling. Look, he called me, and he said, Maxie, it's going to be a tough race. And he said, I don't know if you're going to be able to, pull this one out. And you know what, Jake? I reminded him of the same resilience that he had when people told him that he was going to struggle in 2016, and he became the 45th president of the United States. And I have the utmost confidence that my constituents back home know me. This race is a home race. This isn't about what the national media thinks. This isn't about what people in California or New York or Florida think about what goes on in Ohio 7. What you're going to see here, Jake, is that I am going to be successful in this November because my constituents know who I am, and they also know who my ex-father-in-law is, and they also know who my ex-wife is. And that's why you've seen people aren't running from me. My numbers in fundraising are strong.
So, all right, here he is pointing out, like, hey, me and him are cool. Me and old Donnie T, we're good. We smoothed it over. That's what it sounds like. Well, here's Donnie himself talking about, and so bear this in mind, this is on the 2nd. This was 9 days ago. Obviously, a lot has changed since then. But I don't think we've heard really anything newer other than similar such statements as I'm about to show you right now. But here you go. As soon as StreamYard cooperates with me, here we go.
A lot of people like it. A lot of big supporters of Trump like it.
Mr. President, there's been some domestic abuse allegations against Congressman Max Miller.
I just learned about it.
He should resign.
Well, I'm going to look at it. I mean, so far it's accusations. I'll be looking at it again.
All right, so then we get that from Trump. Just these are just accusations, which I don't really remember if he did chime in on the whole Plattner thing. If anyone in the chat recalls if he did chime in on it, I mean, either way, it's just still a signifier of. I mean, I don't think he'd be talking the same way if he was asked directly about the Plattner thing. But just allegations. But like I said, indicative of kind of the larger GOP, the larger right, generally speaking, and how they're framing this. These are allegations. And then we got, here's from CNN saying, Miller will remain in his race for re-election. They put out a whole piece on this, essentially him, apparently multiple of these things. We showed there, he kept saying, I'm going to keep running. He did keep running. And there was a cutoff. Here's Kyle Griffin says, it's official. Representative Max Miller is staying in his race in Ohio 7th, missing all deadlines by which he could drop out in the wake of severe domestic abuse allegations. So we still have this guy going in. We also have, here's more reports. Mike Nellis says, Politico says Trump personally intervened to keep Max Miller on the ballot despite the credible allegations of domestic abuse against him. He called Miller directly and dispatched his political team to strong-arm Ohio Republicans into abandoning their effort to force him out. So, I mean, I'm sure we'll have more that comes out of this later, but according to sources from Politico, Trump's intervening. Trump intervened. Trump was one of the guiding hands pushing this through. So this is one of those things that makes you wonder, like, what kind of stuff does he have on all these people? I mean, this guy was one of Trump's dudes. I mean, he's got dirt on him, dirt on Moreno, making all these threats. Somehow Trump didn't kick him to the curb. Now, I will say, as I pointed to earlier, he's one of Trump's boys, and loyalty does seem to go a very far way with Trump. So perhaps it's just as simple as this guy's been a loyal soldier, and this is how Trump's willing to behave with his loyal soldiers, although unfortunately, I don't think it's that true. We have seen Trump has a habit of, yes, loyalty is a big deal to him, but there are self-preservation goes a lot further than loyalty for him. Loyalty is a subset of loyalty is important to him as a subset of self-preservation. So if whenever these two values go into conflict with each other, loyalty takes a side seat there. So to understand it better, like if there is no way, if things aren't in any way conflicting with anything that could come back badly on Trump in a way that matters to him, you're usually in the golden if you've been loyal to this guy. You're good. You're good to go. If it's any way going to really fuck him over, you're probably fucked. So this makes me think there's probably a whole lot more going on here. This is one of those stories that in years to come will probably develop quite beautifully. So I look forward to seeing how this goes. But this guy legitimately might get elected in Ohio. So that's wild. We have more electoral shenanigans to go through, and we'll come back to all of that here in a few. Probably going to kick our poly market coverage to the curb once again. Kick the can down the road till tomorrow. We'll see if we cover it till tomorrow. But I have more electoral stuff to go through with you guys, so we're going to have to kick that to the curb once again. But with that, let's roll in the chat, say some hellos, some good mornings, see what you guys got to say. And then we'll get into our last segment of the day, Other Erratic Elects. Here's Top 33, says absent context, sounds like this guy's a saint. Let's hear the context after hearing all the different broads he beat. Northside says when you were young, you were allowed to hit a couple women to get out of your system. I think referring to him rebutting I was 13 from that first claim. It's like, okay, yeah, that's not as big of a deal if it's something when you're an adult, but I can go ahead and promise you there are no assault charges against women in my pubescent history. I can go ahead and tell you that. So I think most people don't. So I mean, the whole I was 13. It only goes so far. Good morning. Never mind. Who else we got here? I think it's funny all of you guys are pointing out. This is before we even went into the gay stuff. Everyone's talking about how this guy was gay before we even got into the revelations. There's some weird homo ring that seems to be being concealed, perhaps. We had a devil's advocate on the claim of the kiddo, where he's saying the kid couldn't articulate that. He's saying perhaps, or maybe it was because the kid was so young and there's gaps in what's going on with the court and this and that perhaps that could have been before the kid really could have said that, and then the claims of her saying other stuff were later. Well, that could be the truth. That could be the case. I mean, you would think he would have clarified that there, though. Tom says Ohio in here. Never heard about it, but I'm sure it's true. He's definitely a big gay. John Black says politicians are psychopathic human filth. Who the fuck even are these people? This is slop. Yup. Gautis says loyalty went out the window with Taylor Greene. Perfect example of what I'm trying to express there. Because people obviously or sometimes mess that up and go, loyalty's his highest value, and they're like, this is why he does this and that, and you're like, well, you got to be careful and pay attention. Well, what's the specific thing? Anyways, yeah. Well, actually, now I say that though, it's not actually the best example of Taylor Greene because she did turn on him in a sense, and at the end. So she didn't become mindlessly loyal. At some point, she seemed to be more loyal to MAGA than to Trump. Is I guess the issue. She actually wasn't really loyal to Trump, so not a great example. I changed my mind. But all right, with that, let's get back into the show. Let's get into our last segment, other erratic elects. Let's check into some other wild electoral stories. We did cover this on Already Dead the other day, but I wanted to share this in case any of the dumpers missed it, and because this is one of those clips that's just worth repeating over and over again, and it just fits all too perfectly in this segment here. Here is Vivek Ramaswamy being booed out of Ohio. Oh shit, we were just talking about Ohio, so it fits even better. So here is Vivek being booed out of Young Americans for Liberty for saying the truth of the matter is people in my generation have already made it. We're going to be fine. Perfect little lead in to this segment. And of course, I fucked up the rollout there. Here you go. One more time.
The truth of the matter is, no matter what happens, the truth of the matter is, no matter what happens in whichever direction we go, people of my generation have already made it. We're going to be fine. It's going to be your generation that pays the price. That choice belongs to you.
You're a political cretin, and you need to get the fuck out of here.
For the audio listeners, and for the people who didn't make out that last little bit there, The last thing yelled was, "You're a political cretin. You need to get the fuck out of here." And then you literally see a whole crowd of boos to Vivek leaving. And I don't know, just music to my ears. Just beautiful. And another such similar situation, although not quite as sweet, because I don't have the same sort of hatred for this guy as I do for Vivek. Although I guess I don't really have strong hatred for Vivek. It's just nice to see him get his comeuppance. Just seeing just the high time preference behavior of the Jeet scamming come back to them. It just is just beautiful. Oh no, that pump and dump didn't work out so well. Now did it? Everyone sees what a fucking scumbag you are. Well, other scumbags are being unveiled. He is Victor Marx. He's someone we found recently discovered on this show, who's another interesting character. He's one of these guys who has crazy fucking claims. Just, I don't even know if this guy's a glowy or what the fuck's going on here, or just an insane person. But either way, enjoy this clip. Here's him being called out at the debates. So it looks like the grift is over. But here you go.
You have both said that you will not support Victor Marx if he is your party's nominee for governor. Mr. Bottoms, you have described Mr. Marx as a con man. That's a pretty serious charge. Why don't you take 1 minute to explain why, and then Mr. Marx will have 1 minute to respond.
Yeah, I stand by that. I also said he was corrupt, and I also said he lies, and he lied to me personally quite a few times. And so I stand by that. I can't put somebody like that any more than I can put a Democrat into the governor's seat. I'll support Senator Kirkmeyer. We don't see eye to eye, but I don't think she's corrupt. All of the allegations going on out there, you got to be blind or naive or something not to at least believe a handful of these. And I also have talked to people in CIA, FBI, State Department. They've confirmed a lot of these things to me personally. In fact, some of your reporters got their information from me. And so the idea that I'm going to support that, I can't do it. He conned my church. I'm not okay with that. And I'm going to stand against that 100%.
How specifically did he con your church?
He came and told me that he rescued, the term he used was rescued, not gave teddy bears to, but rescued 45,000 people in over 100 situations, 30 countries. And that was a lie.
Mr. Bottoms, thank you. Mr. Marx, your response.
You're mean. You know, this is the same rhetoric as someone who's desperate, who's already lost. And the things that he says, I can just say this: accusations without evidence is nothing more than gossip or a lie. And if those things were so bad that you personally were offended, as a pastor, according to the Word of God, aren't you supposed to come to me directly versus start to publicize it? I actually reached out to you. The reference where I think you got your feelings hurt is the night before I announced, Scott, you said, we got to talk. So when we talked, you said, don't announce you're running. I said, why not? You said, well, I had thoughts about you being my lieutenant governor. And I said, I can't, Scott. You said, why not? I said, because you can. And I stand by that.
Mr. Kirkmeyer, you have also said that you will not support Mr. Marx. We're going to let Mr. Kirkmeyer speak here. You've also said that you will not support Mr. Marx if he's your party's nominee. Why not? And what's that going to mean for Republicans in down ballot races if your party is visibly split over your nominee for governor?
Well, first of all, thank you for the question. Our party is already split, and it's already going to be an issue if Mr. Marx is the nominee and on the ballot. I think we'll lose every down ballot race there is with him on there. I think it'll be a replay of 2010, similar to Dan Mays, and it could be the extension of the Republican Party. But the reason I have said that I will not support Mr. Marx is because, one, I mean, he is unqualified, but that's not really the reason. It's because he's unfit. By his own words, he has said he's unfit. He talks about homicidal and suicidal tendencies. Makes me a little worried about, being in rooms with him, that quite frankly, he's a fraud. He makes up these tall tales, these tall stories, and I just don't believe them. And even when you have asked him these questions directly, he just doesn't answer them. And lastly, if you can't keep your word to show up to a debate, to show up to a forum that you committed to, I'm thinking you can't keep your word on anything. And that's why I won't support you. You can't keep your word. I can't trust you. You're unfit. You're unqualified. You think you're an outsider? You're not an outsider. You're a politician. You've entered the ring right now. so you're a politician. You don't get to keep claiming outsider. That's just your way of saying you don't know what you're talking about.
Mr. Marks, would you like to respond to what Ms. Kirkmeyer said?
Sure. Kind of mean too, Barb.
Honest. I'm honest.
You know, just because a person doesn't believe the truth, it doesn't make it a lie.
All right. Well, that's Victor Marks for you right there. Now, for those who don't understand the significance of that, that is, I believe this is a GOP primary kind of coming to the end, their debate, getting ready to choose their next feller to go on. Victor Marks, a typical common thing in any one of the parties is everyone agrees to support whoever the party ends up picking. That's like super duper common. Like that is, I remember Trump got a lot of shit about this way back in his first term of even implying perhaps he wouldn't be okay. I don't even think he directly said that he wouldn't support it. I don't recall the specifics there, but either way, it was people freaked the fuck out at that time. And here we have over in what did I say? This was Ohio, I believe. Is here we have his entire party essentially turning on him in real time in the debate, going, "No, we will not vote for this guy. Fuck this guy." So pretty crazy turn there. Now, just for funsies, just to remind you of who this guy is, what he's about. I asked Grok while we watched that clip to give us a quick list of his some of his more fantastical claims. Apparently, he claims he was forced by his abusive stepfather to behead a cat and wear its carcass on his head at age 3. Said it was part of a voodoo-style ritual. Forced by the same stepdad to shoot and kill a man at 7. Supposedly, the stepdad guided his hand, smeared blood on him, and buried the body. No matching cold case records found by law enforcement in the areas. As a civilian, he called in a U.S. military airstrike that killed around 70 ISIS fighters, personally rescued or helped rescue tens of thousands of women and children from captivity or trafficking. Campaign site previously claimed around 45,000. We covered this a while back on the show, some of his crazier claims. He later advised to serve after scrutiny. He changed it to served after scrutiny instead of the whole 45,000. Independent verification of large-scale physical rescues is lacking. Conducted 130 plus high-risk missions in around 30 countries, often armed to the teeth with every mission success. Has referenced being the first American into Gaza after October 7th. Apparently hunts demons and performs deliverance prayers. He rejects the formal exorcist label that free people from demonic oppression/attachments, sometimes over the phone. So he is willing to, I'm assuming probably for a price, over the phone, give you an exorcism. Sometimes identifying specific numbers of demons. Claims demons can attach due to things like pornography or unmarried cohabitation. Says he has done this for hundreds of people, including high-risk figures. World's fastest gun disarmer is supposedly 7th degree black belt in Kaichu-Do. Cajun karate is apparently a style developed by his biological father that he claims. And just additional combat adjacent or self-defense killing. So these are sort of claims this guy made. Absolutely ridiculous. Now let's check in on over in Florida, my state. Apparently James Fishback has some crazy claims in regard to Byron Donalds, the other front runner of the GOP. Let's check in to see what he has to say there. Apparently claiming Byron Donalds is under investigation for sex trafficking. So let's see what that's all about.
This is not political. This is about transparency. On July 21st, 2026, NBC News reported that Republican Florida Congressman Corey Mills was under criminal investigation by the Department of Justice. Like virtually every federal investigation, this one began with a single suspect and quickly spread to include others. This government whistleblower who approached my campaign has confirmed that this investigation has now expanded to include U.S. Congressman Byron Donalds, who along with Corey Mills is under investigation for federal sex trafficking. Federal prosecutors are investigating 2 dates in question, May 17th, 2024 and November 19th, 2024. Dates when Congressman Mills and Donalds are said to have traveled to the MGM National Harbor, a luxury hotel resort in Oxon Hill, Maryland, where prosecutors believe that both Mills and Donalds solicited, procured, and paid women for sexual acts. Federal prosecutors are in the final stages of this investigation and will soon charge both men under Title 18 of the U.S. Code, Section 1952, a felony that carries a conviction of 5 years in prison. In the coming hours, Byron Donalds will call this investigation a political attack. It's not. The Department of Justice, led by a Trump appointee of the same political party, is not investigating Congressman Donalds for political reasons. They are investigating him because there is credible evidence that he committed a very serious crime.
All right. Let's rehash that. Let's not get too excited. We hear human trafficking and we, jump to Epstein. Dude paid for pussy. As a friend of the show, Bazillion Thought here, it says, the face win, you'll never be sex trafficked by Corey Mills. He says, but seriously, love this for Fishback. But political expediency aside, I actually hate that we frame hiring a hooker and crossing state lines as sex trafficking. It's the DMV. All it is state lines. So, all right, a little underwhelming. Oh no, Byron Donalds and Corey Mills may have paid for pussy one time. I think leave it up to the one small hat to throw somebody under the bus for that. I think Fishback is a small hat, right? Am I wrong? Am I remembering correctly? Although he does frame himself, whether it's true or not, as being more like the anti-establishment, anti-Zionist sort of guy from my understanding. I know it's my state, but I don't pay attention to it all because who fucking cares? I just pay attention for the fun stuff like this. But yep, I guess Byron McDonald's paid for poon sometime. We'll see how that affects the race. Let's check in on other goofballs. Here is Fetterman making an absolute ass of himself on Jon Stewart. And of course, StreamYard is fucking up like literally every other slide change today. So sorry about that. Here is Fetterman doing Fetterman shit.
Israel for me, so for you could agree with them 90%, but Israel is the red line.
Absolutely. Israel for me. I can't ever turn my back to Israel after where it's at.
So, and I mean no disrespect on this, but that is not our country. You're saying that candidates may have great ideas for our economy. They want to, in terms of getting money out of politics, they may want to increase the social safety net. They may want to change the balance of power from cap back to labor. But if they don't agree with you on Israel, you don't want them in your party.
Well, I don't know who you're referencing to specifically.
No, I'm referencing what you just said.
Name
So
one.
in other words, Syed or AOC or Bernie Sanders, I assume you agree with a lot of what they say economically.
And what I'm saying is, if you are a DSA member, if you are a member of a specific political party, run under your own banner. And now I think Bill Maher said something very insightful. He said, the DSA are colonizing the Democratic Party. So just be Democrats if you're going to run under the Democratic Party for that. Why have a DSA party for overall? So run on that, and you all understand.
It's just an organization. It's not, we have a two-party system. It's like the Freedom Caucus in the Republican Party. There are, there's Randy Fine and Ogles and all these nutbags that are also part of an area, and Republicans, I'm sure, may not agree with all of them on all kinds of things, but there is no other party. Well, I guess you could try it, but my point is, if you don't disagree with them on a lot of things, why not use some of that energy? And even like Mamdani in New York.
All right. I don't mean to bore you guys anymore. I'll give this a retweet. You guys can check this out. But it is actually, I won't give it a retweet because it's you guys can go find it yourself. I will give a retweet. It was on Ace's account, which I guess is locked down right now. But I found it from the weekly show thing. Gave a little retweet. So you can go check out the rest if you want. But here is basically, get the long and short of it, that's basically what this whole interview, especially this particular segment of Jon Stewart with Fetterman. In short, this is exactly basically what you can take away from it.
And in the United States Congress,
I will continue to fight for the people of Israel. I will continue to fight for Israel's existence. Israel comes to me in my dreams. I see Israel's future, and I know that Israel will continue to exist for the Jewish people.
Now that right there is a high energy, feminine Fetterman there, maybe a little bit less retarded as well. And this is actually the broad who just got blown the fuck out by that Syed guy. I don't remember what state that's in. But she just got beat. He's kind of the new Mamdani, another, kind of liberalized Muslim sort of figure that everyone goes, oh my God, herder, Sharia law. And meanwhile, they're like probably the sort of people that are like, well, I don't know, should we allow abortion at 9 months or should we get the cutoff at around 6? Like, it's these sort of people we're talking about. Oh no, Sharia law. But yeah, Syed, one of these lefty guys, beat her out, much like Mamdani being very against the Israeli war machine, and it paying dividends. So I don't know how much longer they're going to be able to play this political tact of I will fit both of Israel's balls into my mouth, and it will somehow pay off for me. At some point, they're going to stop shoving both balls in their mouth, maybe take it down to one, maybe just a little scrote, maybe just the tip. But as of right now, we still have people going full both balls. And we got the Fettermans. We got whoever this broad is who just got beat out. Who cares who this chick is? But either way, this is what representative of the destruction of the establishment over there. So I expect to see more of those. And looks like we have a little Tucker Carlson getting in on the action. Apparently, there's murmurs of getting in on the action here with Tucker Carlson, Thomas Massey, why am I having trouble with their name right now? Marjorie Taylor Greene and Joe Kent apparently are starting an anti-war movement, which, we've kind of all thought that was something that was going to be coming soon. So apparently that's a thing happening. I don't really know what to make of it yet. I guess overall I know what to make of it. You guys know my opinions when it comes to political parties. It's fucking dumb. At best, maybe they could get something like a MEGA sort of thing, or not MEGA, I'm retarded. Maha, kind of how, although we saw how that ended, kind of like a Maha sort of thing. Maybe they'll kind of play the same game, probably Tulsi played with the right, but with this next blue wave coming in, they'll be probably playing patty cakes with them. Like essentially, Tucker will be the Tulsi to Trump, of whoever ends up being the Trump of the next go around. That looks like how that'll play out. Perhaps that would be a best case scenario. I don't really know what to make of it. Otherwise, third parties are fucking stupid. So the best I could see is some sort of like RFK, Tulsi sort of vibe and movement, some sort of Maha. And from there, then whatever next administration comes in, they kind of piecemeal some of those ideas and the vibe into their own. So I could see maybe there's some sort of semi-positive effect this group could have on the next incoming deluge of lefties, perhaps. That's a best case scenario. By the way, finishing off today, this is one that's been sitting in the bookmarks for a little bit. Here's Tucker claiming the U.S. government might be coming after him, apparently for a CIA criminal referral. So this was 9 days ago. I still haven't seen any follow-up on any legitimacy of this, but I figure this is a worthwhile going over before we get out of here.
The CIA is preparing some kind of criminal referral against me, a crime report to the Department of Justice on the basis of a supposed crime I committed. What's that crime? Well, talking to people in Iran before the war. They read my text. So the crime under consideration apparently would be the Foreign Agent Act or something like that, acting as an agent of a foreign power. And I don't expect this to go anywhere. I'm not too worried about an actual criminal case against me for a bunch of reasons. One, I'm not an agent of a foreign power. Unlike a lot of people commenting on U.S. politics and global affairs, I have only one loyalty, and that's the United States, and have never acted against it. Its interests are the only interests I care about because I'm from here and I have a lot of kids. So that's not a concern. I've also never taken money from anybody. Don't need it, don't want it, and that's provable. And moreover, it's my job to talk to everybody all the time and try and figure out what's happening around the world. That's literally what I do for a living. And I'm not going to stop doing that. Nor should I don't think. I'm also an American. I can talk to anybody. I have no secrets to divulge. So legally, I think the case is ludicrous, and I doubt it'll even become a case. I'm bringing this up for a couple of reasons, though, and they're pretty obvious. One is that countries tend to become more authoritarian in wartime. It's just the nature of war. People are dying. The stakes are high. People's emotions. So there's much less tolerance for any kind of dissent in the homeland. The irony, of course, is the United States fights wars on behalf of freedom, but there's always less of it here in our country during war. So that's a widely recognized phenomenon, and it's likely to happen now too.
My only question here is, what the fuck? This is not like how many times has this happened now? I mean, didn't this just happen like just the other month? There were some claims. Now, I will say, I don't fucking know. He could be telling the truth. But I know. Here's another claim. I'm just sharing with you guys. Tucker's making this claim once again. They're out to get him. It's still the last time I don't think I ever saw anything to back it up, which who knows? Maybe it's just somebody told me, but the way this guy moves, it's this sort of stuff that gets me, is these claims very much Tim Pool coded in the, oh no, I've been swatted. You're like, okay, is there like something to this? It seems to be a repetitive thing that's happening over and over again. But yeah, with that, let's roll the chat, check in on you guys, and we'll go ahead and get out of here. But yeah, let's check in on you guys, see what you guys gotta say. The real Don Diggler at it again. It says they're following the protocols the learned elders of Zion to the letter. I mean, maybe. Admittedly, I haven't really dug into that one too well. I know every now and then conspiracists like Austin and the homies will bring it up. I need to read that one these days. But yeah, definitely sounds like. Good morning, John Black. It says Mises is courting that Fed Tucker and cronies. My buddy is a chair. I believe it. Yeah, it's totally. Yeah, those guys are all on their balls, big time. What else we got? Tom says a third party will only ever have success as a spoiler here. Yeah, and I'm not too hopeful of it. We'll see where that goes. With that, I gotta get out of here. Old lady's in the corner. She just woke up earlier than she was supposed to, bugging me. She wants something. So let's get the fuck out of here. For those who like what I'm doing over here, leave a like, share, subscribe, comment, leave a 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify. You can find the show on YouTube, Rumble, all the major audio podcatchers, and Twitter as well. On Twitter, that's at TowerGangJose. Everywhere else, it's the No Way Jose podcast. If you want to support the show the best way you can do that with money over at patreon.com/NoWayJose2020. Top left-hand corner, you got the QR code right there. Bring you the same exact place. And over there, you get a whole host of perks at the low level of $2. You get access to early episodes. I do 1 to 2 of those per week. Keep 3 to 4 of them behind the paywall at any given time. You give you guys access to ad-free RSS feed, the Telegram, the pre-show, and the post-show, and video calls on me and Austin's weekly live call-in show, Already Dead, which goes on Tuesdays, 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Like I warned you guys earlier, there's a chance. I don't know what's going on with tonight. Also give out a shout out to the highest level of my Patreon. It's a big thank you for their support. My previous host and Tower Gang, at Learner Toad, also at Brigade D's, at ZOVZK, at _Inviszeal, Tim Tuttle, at John Klebo, big fan of the show, Torme, at Wayne Tackers, One Cover, Kids No Free Lunch, Jack, Mark Vestibule, Jacob Wintergat, a Big Anarchy Podcast, and John Black, you beautiful bastard. And with that, guys, we will see you on the next one. Enjoy this outro. Bye-bye.
Fucked up shit going on. 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 World's all fucked up. Some fucked up shit.